Let's call this meeting of Vocational and Agricultural High School Tuesday, June 10th, regular meeting of the Board of Trustees, call to order. Take the call to order, Katie, please.
Mr. Kalin, Mr. Quadro,
Present.
Dr. Spencer Robinson. Here. Dr. Bonner. Here. Mayor Shara.
We have a quorum to continue the meeting. And yes, Julie, could you please say the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes, and Julie, could you also please read the mission statement?
Sure. The mission of Smith Vocational and Agricultural High School is to provide students with an education that equips them to be professional adults with a high level of expertise, knowledge, and competence in their field, creative and impactful members of their chosen vocations and their communities, and effective communicators who value diversity of thought, experience, and cultural backgrounds.
Thank you. Is there any participation by the public? I see a number of people in the audience today. Just here for a visit, okay. Any participation by the trustees?
Yes, Dr. Lincoln Hooker and I attended the listening session of Governor Healy's statewide graduation council, which was held last week in Holyoke. He was the only superintendent there, and I was the only school committee member, which was a little disappointing. I made the case for using performance assessments as one gauge for determining competency for graduation, similar to the performance tests our vocational educators have to take and pass in order to receive their teaching license. The senior banquet at its new Union Station location was a lively celebration of students' achievements in their shops. I appreciated the efforts of the shop teachers to individually recognize their seniors and to acquire industry-related gifts for them. Graduation was a glorious evening with special thanks to Mother Nature for providing a respite from the rain. It looked like the biggest turnout we've had yet on the football field. I was especially moved by the powerful emotions shown by families, shouts of pride and tears of joy. Mr. Bianca had a confident command of the ceremony from beginning to end. Dr. Lincoln Hooker delivered an appropriately introspective message to the soon-to-be graduates, and Mr. Clark flawlessly read all 146 names. Thanks to them, the other members of the administrative team, and to the faculty and staff for their work to make this culminating event feel special and meaningful.
Thank you. Any acceptance of the minutes of the May 20th, 2025 Board of Trustees meeting?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Did you ask about the student representative report?
Oh, sorry. I guess I missed something. Student representatives report.
We do not have one.
We do not have one tonight. Okay, so we shall move on. School Spotlight, FFA, Skills USA. And I'm
I'd like to
guessing,
introduce Skills USA to go first.
Okay.
We've got Ms. Sherman and Mr. Lamore, the two advisors.
Hello. So this is our year in review. It all starts with the two of us. We love what we do, and it was a really fun year. This is what we put out on the outside of the office. We updated over the past year. We got plaques. We do have the most recent names were added. And down at the bottom right, we can put the dates so students can refer to that. And we have the winners for gold, silver, and bronze at stakes.
So this year at our district competition, we had 43 students registered to take the test. We took the test here in the library. They all went pretty well. We had 8 of the 13 shops represented during our district test taking. And as you can see there are our gold medalists for the district contests. Silver medalists. And of course the bronze medalists. So normally with skills, to move on to the state level, you have to earn a gold or silver medal. And in rare occasions, depending on the contest and or the materials available and student participation, they do allow some bronze medalists to attend states as well. This was our state competition group. We had a total of 12 students attend the state competition at Blackstone Valley in Upton, Mass.
I like that picture.
Drum roll, and Smith came away with a little bit of hardware at the state contest. We had silver medalists here. Chandler Woodward from Electrical took silver in Internet of Things, which was a new contest, full demonstration this year, which was actually pretty neat. I didn't know anything about it. It's basically running the cables and hooking up the internet to somebody's home for like the Google Nest, the Alexa, and all the internet things. Yes, thank you. Another silver medalist, Caitlin Fedor from Criminal Justice. And a bronze medalist, Dylan Sanchez from Manufacturing. So we were very close to having a couple national competitors, but just came up just a little bit short.
And this would not be possible without the support of the Board of Trustee and the administration. So we only had, what did we say, 13 of the shops up there, because FFA doesn't participate in Skills USA, because they do FFA.
And one other piece of information, a little milestone, since 2003, when Smith Boak has been competing, we have earned over 450 medals combined, district, state, and national. So I think we're at 452 as a school.
And we compete against the big schools, so I know you have a question.
A comment, actually, we're
Okay.
so appreciative of the support that you offer to our students. This is a tremendous opportunity for them. I know it was for both of my children when they were here, and to hear about the competitions year after year, the range of shops that participate in, and how well our students perform at the competitions is really a reflection of the excellent faculty and the support
Absolutely.
that the faculty receive here. And we're so glad that you lead this effort. Really, it's a wonderful opportunity for our students.
Excellent, thank you.
All set with Skills USA.
Next, I'd like to invite, see Mr. Onspach.
I share with you. That'll be easier.
Hello, everyone. So the slideshow presents the 2024 to 2025 FFA recap. So what's been happening over these past few months alongside last year. So
Would you like to introduce yourselves?
I'm Thomas Cable. I'm the vice president of the current FFA chapter. And
I'm Taylor Gould, and I'm the reporter for this year.
And I'm James Onspach, one of the advisors.
sorry.
So last year we went to national convention in Indianapolis, Indiana. 3 previous graduates got their American degree, Our last year's officer team, the dairy team, and forestry team had an amazing opportunity to experience the national convention. We took tours of farms and dealerships. We volunteered picking up the community. We went on a haunted hayride, and we did so much more. The forestry team brought back silver and dairy team bronze, and 17 students attended this year from our school.
We had the national convention, some of those are the photos. Plenty of nice sort of.
Lots of activity.
Yeah, lots of
We
activities.
did lots of things.
We attended Ag Day at the State House, so that's an event where every once in a year, you can celebrate over at the Big E, in the sort of smaller buildings that represent each state, and it was absolutely awesome. Actually, I believe. Is that the wrong? No, it's the State House. I apologize.
You went to Boston for that.
Yeah, we went to Boston. I apologize for that. We do so many events at forestry. But that was the Ag Day at the State House, where we went to the State House of Boston, and we met with our some, officials who represent the school and represent the state. Absolutely lovely people. And we got to talk a little bit about the different aspects of the government and the history of Massachusetts. And we met with plenty of other FFA chapters in the event. And we had a splendid time, and we got to see the beautiful architecture of the Boston State House building. After that, or earlier around January, we had the Winter Leadership Conference and the Winter Leadership Camp. The Winter Leadership Camp was a overnight event that taught kids and classmates of the FFA how to sort of present yourself for future leadership roles, skills, and capabilities, and how to sort of pursue more forward within your organization or chapter, learning how to take higher roles and also guiding others alongside you. So we met the state officers there, absolutely lovely people, and there was one state officer from Delaware who came down to visit, and he was super nice to talk to. And it was just a great, fun team building activity to meet different people from different parts of the state. And that was similar to the Winter Leadership Conference, except it was just in one day rather than overnight, but essentially the same sort of stuff, but it was held at a school, I believe, more north. So, photos of that. Yeah, awesome.
And then we had state convention this year in April. Those are some pictures from that. And then more pictures from that.
Plenty of awards given out.
Yes, which we'll talk about next, actually. For demonstrations, the demonstration one got silver, the second one got also silver, and the third and fourth got bronze, and they do it by age, I'm pretty sure. So one will be freshmen, two will be sophomores, three juniors. Then there's also, those are individuals, and then for teams, team 1 got second place, team 2 got silver, team 3 got silver, and team 4 also got second place. Other things that took place were ag sales, who got silver. Our chapter scrapbook made by last year's reporter got second place. Creed speaking got silver, employment skills got silver. People who did the marketing plan got third place. Prepared public speaking got silver. Quiz Bowl Division 1 got second place, and then Quiz Bowl Division 2 got silver.
We had some career development events, CDEs, and these were held all across the state. So ag mechanics, they got bronze, arbor skills got silver, dairy evaluation was silver too, alongside the dairy showmanship, that was 3rd and 7th place. Forestry was able to win 1st place, the Hardshaven team got silver, horse evaluation got silver, the horse showmanship got 4th and 6th place, livestock got silver, vet science got bronze, and the forestry team, I'm happy to say, is going to nationals in 2025, so that's awesome. And the people who are able to get on that spot are Avery Nouveau, Riley Millay, Sam Jenkins, and Hunter Clement. We had some awards handed out at the state convention. So, some excellent students were able to get their Bay State degree. And those were Julianne Austin, Maya Petruzzi, Hannah, I apologize if I'm boys up, thank you. Sophia Zena, Lauren Brooks, Aaron Judd, Trent Bush, and Acacia Bernanswick. And 2 people were able to get their proficiency awards, which were Maya Perchuzzi and Aaron Judd. Amazing stuff.
We had 54 students attend the 2025 state convention.
Member outreach was for Jordan O'Brien. She was able to get the position of the state FFA reporter, which is absolutely amazing to see, seeing someone from our school get that position. And Chris Corbett, who used to go to this school, was also able to get the treasurer for this year. He also was able to be state officer last year too, which is awesome to see. And it was a new officer team, which is Julianne Austin, me, Vera Howell, obviously Taylor Gould, and Maya Petrucci, and super awesome to be here.
Yes.
So summer 2025 activities, we're going to be going on 2 officer summits and trainings. I'm excited for those. The summer officer team bonding chapter program of activities will be created alongside preparation for the national competition will be in October of this year. And we will also be doing some fundraising planning for the future.
So one of the things we wanted to mention at the end was just the input by staff. This isn't meant to be as an I gotcha moment now, but we'd like the board to kind of think about going in the future, what kind of programming would we like to have here for FFA. Because the amount of programming we do now is really hard to sustain without relying heavily on the goodwill of the advisors. And then there's one more slide. The expenses, things have gotten more and more expensive. And the thing I kind of want to highlight at the bottom is the student cost to participate. The difference between what the school budgets, what we fundraise, is made up by students. And it's one of the few places in school where we charge kind of a student user fee to have access to some of the programming. So it's one thing I just wanted to highlight as we kind of finish off the year with some excellent program and excellent success with kids. Going down the road, what do we want to do as a school to kind of help close some of those gaps? And kind of follow in the footsteps of my colleagues, in the time I've worked here, every year there's been students going to compete at the national level in FFA. And again, I think that says a lot about this tiny, tiny school when you consider we're competing 750,000 members nationwide in FFA. And then I'd also like to kind of call out my colleague, Miss Evangelista, who's more been the spearhead. The amount of students who've gotten their American degree, less than half of 1% of members nationwide ever achieve that accolade. Again, out of 750,000 members. But yet consistently in the last few years, and this year is no exception, because we have students working on an application now, as a postgrad, you have to be out of school 2 years to apply for it, to achieve greater successes after high school. That shows how much kids are getting out of it and the caliber of the students we have here at this school. Just wanted to end with that. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Questions?
Question. Can you further explain the student cost to participate? So that's a user fee? that the
So when we
students-
attend, say for example, national convention or leadership camp or state convention, students are paying a portion of the cost that it costs for us to send a student to that event.
So is the $47,303 that's a total cost, is it 29, about 30,000? Is that provided by the school?
Yes, the school budget's 20,000, we fundraise almost 10,000 in a calendar year.
Okay, and so then the students make up the difference of the 17,000?
And a lot of this is travel. Travel's become exceptionally expensive in the last few years.
Yeah.
And state convention has too.
Right.
Both it moved to a new location, and because of that logistics of offering it has increased the cost that's not in our control, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because if you think about, there were 54 students at the state convention, so divide that into the 22,000, and what's the per pupil cost of attendance
So
at the
some-
state
If
convention?
a student did all 3 of those events, they spent about $1,300 of their own money. And so our officer team did most of those. So as an example, that would be a student who would incur each of those expenses.
Right. and the students take on the expense themselves because they see the value in the experience?
Yeah, I would say yes. I don't think they feel cajoled into it, they wanna do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if more would access, state convention's kind of at a capacity, because there's only so many things a kid can do, and we fill each of those spots,
Right.
as an example.
I have a question for the students. I wonder if you each would be able to speak to what FFA gives you outside of the educational experience that you receive here at Smith Oak during the school day. So why do you participate? How has it benefited you? What's the value in it from your own individual experiences?
It really allows you to like expand how you see things, and it really gets you out there doing things you're not like as comfortable with to start off, and then it gets you more and more comfortable. Like talking to people, getting better communication, better leadership, just preparing yourself for the future and things to come. I myself I'm not a talkative person, but since I've been FFA, I've been more and more like getting to like a point where I'm like more confident, like I can speak to people like how I am right now, and just ups your confidence, ups your leadership skills, and it's awesome.
Thanks.
I would have to say that what Taylor said was absolutely, really hit the nail on the head right there. I mean, FFA sort of gives us the ability to pursue and strive for more of be more active within your trade or your education, and really get into like the community that's built around it. So, like she said, being more talkative, getting out there, pursuing more difficult challenges, and just sort of like, learning that you can go farther than you thought you could have before. I'd say that like that's one of the greater reasons I love the FFA, because it's sort of every time I surprise myself by knowing that I can like go even farther than I last thought, whether it be, helping others, with leadership skills, or whether it be with challenges, doing things that I thought I could never accomplish or I'd be too scared of. And overall, just meeting new people from different schools who, have a lot more in common with you, both in and out of agriculture, it's really spectacular, because it sort of also builds connections for the future. So, yeah.
Thank you.
I agree with 100%.
Thank you.
So again, in closing, it's just something to point out as we go forward. You all have a lot of things to think about, but one of the glaring things that keeps coming up is what kind of programs do we want to offer that we can afford to offer and support. I'm kind of biased. I want it all. It's been part of my 30 years of teaching, because I see the value in all of it.
So I was just gonna ask, so what are your thoughts on moving forward? So I think you might have just answered that by saying you want it all.
It's a hard part to decide what do you do without, if anything. And
Thoughts maybe in regards to funding sources, or the school, what contributes 20 grand we budget for this program, for going to these conventions. So looking for other avenues of
we've had different years.
contribution.
There's been some years we raised $19,000 in fundraising. It's just a fluke year and a lot of different things. In some years it's not been as good. Some years there's even been corporate sponsors have helped.
Well, that I
underwrite
was
kids'
just gonna
travel.
ask that. Okay,
Those are all, kind of time consuming things as well to pursue, but those are avenues.
thank you.
Thank
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Yep, and we have a bonus presentation this evening if the board doesn't mind. So later on in your agenda, you have an agenda item to approve the PF international trip. And we just thought it'd be worthwhile to have our two advisors move over our most recent trip, talking about the trip to Italy, and then talk about what it would look like for the upcoming trip. So
And I think, did you grab, I just sent you.
Right.
I was like, so I plugged my computer in, no, no one else is doing that, I should say it straight. There you go, good.
Do we need a translator for this?
No. We're good. Beth Evangelista and Mark Nevin, in case you're not aware. We have 4 awesome students that volunteered their night to come talk to you a little bit about their own experience in Italy before Mark and I really get going on some of the other stuff. So I'm gonna let them introduce themselves. They're gonna tell you their name, what shop they're in, and what grade they're in, and give a little bit about what they liked, what some of their experiences were. And as you go through the slideshow, you'll be able to see they kind of went through each of the different events that we saw, the different places and areas, so they can kind of comment on that. So I'm gonna let these guys introduce themselves and do a little talking.
Alright, my name's Ryan Thiero. I'm in 10th grade currently. I'm on plumbing shop.
I'm Melissa Hart and I'm in animal science. Oh, I'm a freshman.
My name is Joseph Gregoire. I'm a sophomore in horticulture.
I'm Cole Madison Galata, and I am in 10th grade, and I'm in carpentry for my shop.
Could we hear why they each wanted to go to Italy?
Yes,
Sure.
go.
I'd love to know that.
Alright, so I have immigrants from Italy that came over here. I believe my great grandfather came over. I also love food. Just something I've always wanted to try, and I love to travel. It's pretty much why.
I went because my mother did go to Italy when she was in high school, so I wanted to go this year. And I just wanted to go for the experience.
I wanted to go because I've always been kind of intrigued in the culture and like the different aspects of Italy. And I thought it would be an amazing opportunity and figured why not do it while I have the chance in case I don't get the chance when I'm older.
The reason why I went is I went a couple years ago with my family, but I wanted to go again because my family and I went like into the city more, but I wanted to go into like the countryside of things there. So.
All right.
Why did the advisors wanna go?
I went, I am part Italian. I've always been intrigued growing up with Italy. In college, I studied a lot of the architecture and the art history and stuff of Italy, and I wanted to see all of what I studied, and I did see some of it. We didn't go south enough to see all that I studied, but you know, I like to travel, but I also wanted to give the students an opportunity to experience something that I did as a teenager. I didn't do an EF tour. I did spend 5 weeks in Japan on an exchange program, and that was one of the best times of my life. So if I could give that opportunity to students, that's why I signed up to be a chaperone.
Great, thank you.
So for me, it kind of started with I got an email in my inbox and I was like, oh, I would love to go to Italy and this sounds awesome. And I think previous to that, it's always kind of been a little thing in my mind there, like it would be so cool to go do like agricultural tours with my ag students and go see what's out there. I love teaching agriculture. I love traveling and seeing when FFA, when we go to the national convention, we go to all these other farms. We're lucky enough to have Mr. Ansbach, who's got some connections out there. And it's like, we can do that, but on an international level. So I really thought that would just add to the opportunities and the education that we give to our students here and just bring us up to that next level that I really think we're striving for, especially when you think about the vision of the graduate. So. And as we move on, I really think that in this trip overall, the kids not only met our expectations, but they went beyond. We brought 60 kids total, and that is a lot. A lot for a first-time trip. It was definitely some learning experience, but I have got to say I think it was absolutely amazing and wonderful, and I think that these 4 individuals are gonna show that that is of truth. And other part is there was cheese making, and I'm Italian, and I wanted to go, so.
And yes, we ate a lot of pizza and pasta.
Yes, delicious.
Thank you.
So the slideshow, we'll let them talk about it, but the slideshow, you can see in the table of contents there, those are all the different cities and areas we saw. Milan, Torino, Cuneo, Langhi, Lagoria, Ez, and Monaco. And then we're missing Nice, France as well. But, so there's some pictures and they're gonna talk about what we did in each of those different areas.
So we landed in Milan at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Depending on which
6:35.
flight you took.
Alright, so
Actually, I think all these guys were with you.
Yes.
they were on the first flight, yeah.
I got the second flight, we got a little later.
So we landed at 6 a.m. Then we took a bus ride on the first plane. We went on another tour because we had to wait for the second plane to come in. So in Milan, we just kind of went and visited this lake, and we went and had breakfast at these little cafes. We had really good croissants and coffees. You also see that we have really good views of up on the mountain there. We got castle and got great greenery. And then later we went and we saw this was it a chapel?
That's a cathedral.
The cathedral, yeah. And we walked around. We didn't go inside of it, but we went and had gelato, and we just had a little bit of free time with our groups.
They look like postcards.
Next we went to Toronto and we just visited a castle and tried some hands-on making and visited a dairy farm. We also toured this fruit farm that we went over and researched. They are doing some to create more sustainable fruit production there. And as you can see, the cheese in the basin, the dairy farm, and the seafood.
I'd like to, before you go, I'd like to point out that bottom right picture is the wheels of cheese that is aged in there, and they have been using that cheese cave for over 1,000 years.
And the other really cool thing about that cheese cave, all right, you got the cheese person here. That cheese cave has a natural mold. So most cheeses, when you make it, you inoculate it to grow the mold. They do not inoculate their cheese. They put the wheels in there and it inoculates itself with the mold that's in there. So it's really the only kind of cheese that you can get like that, which is absolutely fascinating.
And some of the kids took the opportunity to flip the cheese over, which they do daily.
No, it's not
Weekly.
daily. It's weekly, I think, something like
They
that.
have to hand turn each wheel over. So they got to.
They got to go into this ancient cheese cave and turn those wheels.
Culinary kids had a great time.
Just at a high level, what makes the fruit production more sustainable?
I think some of the stuff they were doing is they're doing the trellises out
Oh, that's
there.
right, yeah.
And so they're growing the fruit production on rather than, if you go to our apple orchard, we have a tree, right? Out there, what they're doing is, it's kind of think of a vineyard, but instead the trees are growing.
Like espalier?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's new methods. There's some, you basically take a hoop house of plastic and you can grow the trees up that way. So you have a tunnel. What they do there is it's just like the grapevines, and the fruit farm, which is attached to the university that we went to, had over 20,000 acres of trellised apple trees.
Next, we went to Cuneo, where we took a tour of a cattle farm, where did they have dairy in?
This was all dairy, but they were used for meat production.
So we got to see the agricultural side of how they handle their livestock, how they raise them, treat them, take care of them, and we learned some cool facts that a lot of animal science kids definitely enjoyed that not everyone would have realized, but they got to enjoy. And then we went and took a cooking show where we learned how to make gnocchi, and we got to see how they do it from scratch, every ingredient, and then they also made tiramisu as well.
For our animal science student, what was your impression of the way that maybe sort of this, I guess, any significant differences between the way cows are raised there and here?
Well, it's very, very clean there. And I see they take very good care of their animals because they're not too skinny, but they're not too fat. And there are a lot of cows.
So do you think it's like a different sensibility that they have there than we have here in terms of raising?
I think one of the big things, something that I haven't seen in the US is if you look at that slotted floor,
Yeah.
that's how we raise a lot of pigs here in the US is on slotted floors, which allows for the manure to go through. And so back to what Alyssa just said, it's very, very clean. I mean, those calves were immaculate. They were obviously very comfortable too. And that's one of the ways, methods they're using to keep those animals cleaned in those barns, because there were, what were the numbers, Alyssa? 5,000 head of these calves on the farm, and it was 5 barns and 500 head in each barn or something like that. And it was 5,000 pounds of milk replacer they went through in a week.
Do they keep the babies in the same huts that I've seen here on our campus?
No, they do use separate fencing to separate each day they were born. So those.
Like the 1-day-olds or 2-day-olds?
Yeah. Exactly.
What you see in there, those pictures, as you walk through, you can see the different age on the different sizes,
Yeah.
but like you said, the younger,
Yeah.
they're separated out, and they just kinda, I don't know if they move them through or it just changed from there, but it was really interesting to see.
So with the slotted floors, how is that cleaned underneath? Is it retract in some way? Do they pull the slotted sections out?
I just got the look of,
I don't remember.
so typically what it is you've got, think of like a little flow there. So manure, urine all goes in there. When they do washing and stuff, like things get clean, so you have lots of water going through as well. Things just kind of get pushed. There's a think of it like a conveyor belt or a gutter cleaner type of mechanism that's pushing that manure out, and it goes into what you call a slurry tank, which we have here as well. And so they have some large slurry tanks out back, so everything kind of flows and gets pushed out to the slurry tank. And then I don't know, we didn't ask, but I mean, I would assume they got a lot of nice crops around there to fertilize, but that would be my
20,000
assumption.
acres of that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Here we went to Langy. We walked the vineyard, and it was a beer and wine, not beer and wine, it was beer and soda wine vineyard, where we had lunch, and this was Easter lunch, I'd say. We sampled chocolates and gelato.
What was your favorite that you ate there that you can remember? Did you gelato or the chocolates?
Gelato.
Gelato.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that was one of my favorite meals, at least, that the kids picked to put on there. That was a pork.
Pork shank.
Yeah,
Pork shank.
it was fall off the bone. It was absolutely delicious.
Delicious.
Yes.
Alright, so
Curious.
Longoria. Trying to remember what we did there. Oh, that was where we went to eat. Right there. So we went to a small restaurant there. We had pizza for lunch. They brought out different styles, so it was kind of like a family style of way of how they served it. So they actually had French fries on a pizza over there, and then they had like some version of a hot dog.
So a hot dog is a sausage, so that was their version of a sausage pizza. It has hot dogs on it. Yep.
They had just plain pizza, and then I believe some version of like pepperoni. It was all very good. Then after that, we could go across the street, and there was a beach, and the water was kind of cold. I didn't go in; I just kind of felt it, but then it kind of broke off after that, and we took groups and went shopped or got gelato. So yeah, it was good though.
before actually getting to the beach, on our way over the mountains, we took the winding way through the mountains instead of the highway. Beautiful scenery. We ended up stopping at this small little town where we went to tour an olive grove and olive, I wouldn't really call it a factory, but where they process the olives into olive oil and stuff. We were able to buy, everyone spent all sorts of money. Like, we bought them out of all the olive oil, the hand cream, all
Bought them
that.
out of everything.
Everything they had there, it was great. And when we first arrived, that's a picture we probably should have given.
Yeah.
We stopped in front of a church, and then we had to hike up to
I think
where
they
the
put
olive
in
oils are.
Didn't we meet the mayor?
Yeah, so the mayor, we'll tell them about the mayor, why he was there.
The mayor wanted to meet all of us, agreed us to, just kind of
Nice.
just come into their town. So then what he did is he unlocked the church for us, and then we all went inside, and it was beautiful.
Your own private tour.
Yeah, he was very excited that 60 American kids were coming, and so he gave us a little tour of the church, and they, big promotional thing that they absolutely loved it, so.
And students got to do some hands-on pruning of the olive trees and, please correct me, what do you call it?
Raking.
Raking the trees. I call it tickling the trees, but that's not right.
Tickling.
Oh, do they call it tickling? It's like this little, it's a vibrating thing that goes up there and shakes them and,
They look like two little
yeah.
metal leaf rakes like this, hooked up to an air compressor, and it does this. So you rake the olives off the tree onto a net, and then they scoop them up. There were no olives, it was just little leaves that came down.
Yeah, they got to do some hands-on using that stuff, so that was cool too.
Next we went to the perfume factory in
Yes.
Eddie. We stayed there for a while and we just smelled a lot of perfumes and a lot of people bought them out. They seemed like, yeah.
Where did the ingredients come from all those perfumes?
I think what she was getting at is these are all botanical.
Yeah.
It's all distilled from botanics, so it's kind of more all natural. It's not all chemical made. So I have a picture of it where they distill it all out.
You can
in
see one of
extracts.
them behind the copper.
Oh yeah, behind the
thing,
copper
right?
in the middle
Yeah.
there. And they make different levels of perfumes that you can buy and stuff. That was really, really cool. And what you see second from the left is in front of that map. They have these little canisters that have the scents from the different botanicals in them. So sandalwood and rose and citrus and lemon and stuff. So you can smell the different ingredients that go into the different perfumes.
So next we went to what I think is a lot of the students' favorite place to go. We went to Monaco, which is a very popular city that is country. That a lot of people it's known for their riches, their money, the events that they have. The middle picture is actually a picture of the F1 track, and they were setting it up when we were there, which was awesome to see even from afar, because it's like you never would expect to be able to see that. And we spent about half the day touring around Monaco, and then we went off and we got to go shop in groups and get lunch and kind of just explore and buy some expensive jewelry and other items that are a little pricey, but it was really beautiful. They have amazing water and beaches there, and it was just really fun for all the students.
Tiffany has made its way there, I see. What was it like crossing the border?
So it was actually kind of funny. It was easy, but we did get stopped and questioned because, I mean, when you put 30-something American kids on a bus and they try to cross the border,
There'll be questions.
Yeah, but we went over perfectly easily, and it was just like driving from the US to Canada, just drive, if you get questioned, pulled over, and then you get let free.
I was thankful we had Tom Moore on my bus and he speaks some French. And both buses got pulled over on our way into France, and the guy comes on and I don't speak any French, and he's saying something, and so trying to figure out what is needed, and he says, list, he said list. I was like, oh, here, and I just pulled out of my bag, I was like, perfect, and let us go. I was like, student list, that's what I got. Something I've learned here, always have a list of what students are with you.
So they didn't have to show passports or anything?
Nope.
No, in the European Union, you can go to any country, you can travel through any of the countries despite open borders.
So that's how it's
So,
become easier, yeah.
So when we went into Monaco, we actually didn't stop, we
Yeah.
just drove right in,
Nice.
on the bus, so, but yeah.
So we did a little survey, and basically 70.9% of students said yes, they'd recommend doing this. We did have some kids that there is a lot of walking on these trips. That was a little much for them, but I gotta give it to them. They hiked it, they did it, and they got through it, and I think that they're stronger kids from it. So, there's always gonna be the few that are like, but overall, I think that we've gotten so much positive feedback from not just students but parents as well about this trip. It really went well. So I think you guys agree.
Definitely.
Yeah. Would you do it? You'd all do it again?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I believe
I did.
3 of the 4 are signed up for the next meeting tomorrow.
Okay.
I think
You're signed
from
up.
there we're gonna, Mark and I will talk a little bit about Ireland.
Do you have any questions
Yeah,
for
do you
them
have any
before we?
questions?
I don't think so. More, were there any issues, any complications, lessons learned besides maybe make sure they know there's gonna be a lot of walking? Was the
We did,
staffing appropriate?
Staffing was great, I think it was the right ratio, the people we took, really, everyone contributed something. Like she said, having Tom Moore was awesome there, having the nurse was great, both were utilized. We really didn't have any major issues. The concerns that we had didn't really show up. Everything went real smooth. So, I think it was a great group. The kids were awesome, the teachers were awesome.
In terms of accessibility for this next trip to all of our students from different socioeconomic backgrounds, what are your thoughts about that?
I mean, it is a little pricey, I think, for some, but is it gonna prevent? I think starting now, it's gonna make the payments less, so it makes it a little
Yes.
easier to open it up the door to some families that can't do it in a short time. Where that becomes a problem is in the fall time. Anyone that signs up, the payments will be increased a little bit because you lose the summer months. And then if we open it up again because we haven't filled or we haven't hit our max to the next 2 years out, their payments are gonna be a lot higher, so that might exclude a number of families at that point, but I think by then we may be full anyways.
And I think we saw, even on this last trip, we had some students, that probably, we know we had students that had especially the economical struggles with trying to be able to afford this, but they did it, we gave them that opportunity and that chance, and they wanted it, they did it. And I think that speaks a lot for the mindset of the students that are at the school overall, like, I wanna do this and I'm gonna figure out how to do it. And then, we had some fundraising, and we had the kids that, really pushed their personal individual sales, and they were able to bring in, some money to help pay for their trip as well that way. And then students were able to go and, I can't remember it's not GoFundMe, but it's like a GoFundMe through EF. And so we had students that were able to do that where family members, friends, and their parents could put onto social media and whatnot, and people could donate for their child to go to another country and go on this trip. So I think there's opportunities for anybody that wants to go. And I mean, if there's like any kind of handicaps like we had a student that he fell, it wasn't anything serious, but he was hurting. And so they were able to find like a little vehicle to, rather than making the big long walk on the road that the bus couldn't go down, they got a smaller vehicle for the student and one of the chaperones to go into and drive that student around so that, they didn't have to do that long walk. So, I mean, EF does really good on making sure that they're trying to assist us and the students to the best of their ability too.
I'm only aware of one student that made a comment that this trip put their family in debt and not sure it was worth it. It is a lot, but, you know, I can't, every family has to make that decision.
And I think you always are gonna have at least one negative person on any trip, so. And, yeah.
Well, I would say, I mean, just from my perspective, the morning of departure, and speaking about being in the library, seeing, we all knew how many students you were taking, that was a lot. I give all of you a lot of credit for that. But the wide range of students that went, it was amazing to see. Some students who I never would have envisioned would be getting on a plane to go to Italy, they were getting on a plane to go to Italy.
Yes.
So I give a lot of credit for that individual student to take that type of risk. I give a lot of credit for the families to allow that type of risk. I think a lot of your students who went first time on a plane, and the families were trusting you to have that experience. And the other thing was at the high school level, I think there's a stereotype that families begin to step back and allow the students to do their own thing. And I was pleasantly surprised to see how many families were here that morning, walking through bag check, and having that family dynamic was very powerful. So I think it was a great experience for everybody, student and family.
If I can, would you like to say something?
Sure, I'm the parent of a student who got to go on the trip on Wilson Madison, and it was a great experience, I thought, for everybody, and watching it all unfold over the course of a year, and the fundraising efforts. And I did feel like it was a lot of responsibility on the parents, which felt odd, actually, sort of. We didn't have to go out and flip burgers, and I would have done that, but we were not asked to do any of that. So it was really, I thought, 100% great experience. And the ratio of the students to teachers was remarkable. So it was 6 to 1, as far as I know. And my son, I don't think he got to say this tonight, but he said when he got back, I met people I never would have met. And that was just at, Smith Folk. And I thought that was really great that the students would mix and mingle with these people who aren't in their shop or in their classes. So I think it builds a lot of community, and hats off to the teachers who went and planned everything. And it's a big responsibility to take all of these students. And it was wonderful. And I'm grateful for the opportunity for all the kids to do that.
I appreciate that many of our students won't go on to college after Smith Vocational, and so you're providing this international experience for them that college students have access to, and it's also in a supervised, chaperoned, structured setting. So they're learning how to do things like Dr. Lincoln Hoker said, how to, how to get yourself to an airport, go through customs, get on a plane, all the things that you have to do, and they're doing it with their teachers in a really supportive environment, which really helps prepare them for life after high school when they're going right out into the work world, many of them.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up traveling with my parents down in Florida and back quite a bit. And so I was used to get on a train by myself and go to New York to my grandmother's house or something. So I was used to that travel, and I know a lot of kids these days don't. And as I said, I went to Japan for 5 weeks. I spent 3 months in Mexico on my own. And so having those experiences built up to, by the time I went to Mexico, I was well prepared. I knew what to expect. And I think these kids having the opportunities to go do that in a controlled environment will help them if they say, hey, I want to go travel around Europe for, 3 weeks or something like that. They can. They know what to, like you said, they know what to expect. So I think it's just another educational experience for them, not just seeing where we go, but learning how to travel and what to expect and how to prepare.
Yeah, going to New York, they'll be like, oh, I can go to New York, I went to Italy.
Right, exactly. So, okay. Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, sure, you want to know this, it's a 2-page thing, that's all right, So just, this is gonna be not so long ago. So Ireland 2027 is what we're looking into. And we have an interest meeting coming up for tomorrow with families. We've got some pretty good, we actually, because we did so well with the Italy tour, EF has specialized or individualized our trip for this coming, for this possibility. So with that being said, we took some things out, we added a few more things in, such as going to a mushroom farm, which is one of Ireland's top commodities, chocolate making, and botanical gardens we added in, and then of course there's St. Andrews we're gonna go to. Actually, if you wanna,
We're not going to St. Andrews.
I mean,
That's in Scotland.
It's the same golf.
and I think I wrote St. Andrews on there too. Where were we going? It's
St. Patrick's.
St. Patrick's. Oh, maybe I wrote St. Patrick's. I don't know.
Yeah, you focus.
Good. Yeah, it's St. Patrick's. All right. So the plan is for this to be April vacation of 2027. It will be a 9-day trip, just like 10-day. Oh, 10-day trip, just like so 1 day longer.
Not shorter.
Yeah, 1 day longer, not shorter. We're gonna go a day longer. All right. And it will be during the April vacation. I've already double checked and made absolute certain that Easter does not fall at this time, which was, that was a learning, that was, if I had known, I think I would have said, can we try to, because we did end up losing a tour because of that. So that was, I think, probably our biggest mistake was not realizing that Easter was then. And, we're going to Italy, and then of course, we go to Italy, it's Easter, the Pope passes,
In Italy, they shut down for Easter
They
Sunday and Easter Monday.
Right. So they have 2 days they're shut down, and anyways, so we made sure that's not a thing. We don't have to worry about Easter. Right now we've got 51 families enrolled in our interest meeting. For students right now, if they enroll, it will be $212 per month for 22 months, which is a lot cheaper than what the past students had to pay per month, because that was, basically a
The
year.
overall cost is $4,700, just over
$4,700.
$4,700, which is similar to what the Italy
Yep.
trip was.
We are gonna have 36 student spots open. I think we learned that 60 students is a lot. It's a lot to be able to try to get every student engaged and involved. So we're gonna start with this at 36 spots. If we get an additional 36 students that sign up and are on our waiting list, EF said what they will do is they will make it a second tour rather than a second bus. So we would split it, so we'd have the first 36 might leave a day or two before the others. So you leave, but you're doing the exact same tour, nothing changes other than you're not gonna be with that other group at all, because that's gonna allow students more availability to really get involved, see what's going on, pay attention. So we, wanna make sure that all students are able to have a chance to really get in there and do it.
One of the biggest issues we had when both groups were together in Italy is it took a whole lot longer to get to where we were going. It's a 45-minute bathroom break.
Yeah.
Eating was a chore because you're trying to feed 70 people all at once, so food, it's a little slower coming out in most places. So by being able to when we were separated, because we couldn't always go to the same place at the same time, things went much smoother. So everybody, students, all the chaperones, we all were in agreement that if we had one bus, it would have been great. And so if we can just make it 2 trips running simultaneously, that would be better, because it'll never bottleneck anything.
So insurance, with their payment, it's covered. I asked for it to be automatically added in and not a choice, because I don't want to get there and have a major issue. So all travelers will be covered by the EF Travel Protection Program. So if something happens to them, they go to the hospital, they will be covered for medical or anything else that could potentially.
And there's usually, that's a $190 fee.
Yeah.
You can opt for a higher coverage, which will allow you to cancel the trip up to a certain amount of time before, but I think that's $400 something, $450 on top. Some families did that on this last trip. I'm not sure it's necessary.
And that one, if they sign up for that one, that's also protecting them if for some reason something happens and they can't go.
Right.
They'll get everything back other than that $400 something. So, so families have that option if they wanna opt into that. Your lead chaperones for this will be Mark Nevin and myself. So highlights, I did it right. St. Patrick's Cathedral, shellfish farm, and actually is a seaweed farm too. We're gonna go to a shellfish farm and a seaweed farm. Stud farm and Irish racehorse experience, chocolate making factory tour,
Cliffs of Moher.
Cliffs of Moher. We're gonna go see some sheepdog training, working with sheep, and then some other farm activities involved in there as well. And I think we're looking on trying to squeeze in a castle somewhere too, because you gotta go to a castle if you go into Ireland. So we're gonna try and squeeze that in as well. So what Mark handed to everyone was a full itinerary of all the different places. So rather than write it all down,
No, it's great.
that's the
Thank you.
updated itinerary. Yes, that is our individualized itinerary. I printed it out minutes before we.
Okay.
Yep. So we really are looking forward to the continued experience and really hope that you continue to put your faith and trust in us to do another round. We're willing to go back and do it again, or go to another country this time, and keep this in motion, because I think it was a great thing for our students overall, and just ups the ante of what we're doing here at Smith.
And one of the things that we're gonna stress tomorrow, because it did come up, is this is an educational tour. So we are going to do a lot of things, and it's gonna be up in the morning at 7. We're not gonna be back. Thankfully, it wasn't like our training. We were back usually by 7:30, 8 o'clock at night to the hotel, but we're out all day, walking 8 to 10 miles a day. We're constantly doing stuff. We did try to work in a little more free time around lunch, so students could have some time to shop and not go as much. But it is an educational tour first. This is not a sightseeing tour. So if they're all about just doing sightseeing and seeing what they want, we want to make sure they understand that, this is a set itinerary and it is an educational tour first.
Yeah, that's an important
Yeah.
point to get across.
And they come back and they're tired and they go to sleep, and that's nice.
I've never seen kids want to go to bed.
Yeah,
Yes, some kids want to stay up, but a lot of kids, can we just go back and hang out in our room or go to bed? Absolutely.
I just want to shower. I just want to go to bed.
Shower, go to bed,
please.
yeah.
Unless it's, first period in the day,
Right.
and sometimes they want to go to bed too.
Thank you.
It was wonderful. Are there any questions for us?
Applaud your efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Time to move on, Dr.
So, yes.
Information and proposals, trustees, questions and answers, principals report, Mr. Bianca.
Yes, good evening, everybody. Just want to publicly say thank you to all the students and families, and to the two lead chaperones, Mark and Beth, for all the hard work that they put in to make that trip as successful as it was. So do appreciate all of that. Very brief principals report, enrollment 582 students, that's been steady. Currently, we have 125 students that are enrolled for next year. 24 from Northampton at about 19.2%. Third round letters for any additional openings will go out in the coming weeks, but it's really probably going to be next week, middle of the next week. MCAS has been completed. Personnel, we had been in the interview and other process phases, but we did hire an advanced manufacturing instructor. And we did hire an assistant principal. We're waiting on the advanced manufacturing instructor to get paperwork. But the incoming assistant principal, Ethan Percy, who is currently the assistant principal at Chicopee High, has signed all the paperwork, so he will begin on July 1st. So pending your questions, that's my very brief report.
Another Chicopee administrator.
Another one, yes.
Okay, that must be working out well for us. Do you know how many students are on the wait list for admission to the 9th grade class?
How many students are left on the wait list, or how many
Yes,
students
yep.
started on the wait list?
No, how many students are left on the wait list?
No. Last I looked, I believe the number that we got through, there would be an additional 130 students.
130 students on the wait list now,
left
left after.
approximately. We've gone through about 190 so students through those first 3 rounds, and we had over 300 applicants, so we had around 310, 320, so it'd be around 130 students left.
Is that typical for this time of year, or high or low?
I would say it's a little higher because we had more applicants this year.
And do you, how many do you anticipate will be on that wait list by the time school starts? How many will be left?
You know, I'm not gonna anticipate, sometimes that final 25, 30 students might take us 50 kids.
Yeah.
Might take 60 kids,
Yeah.
because people have made other decisions,
Yeah,
or they've
exactly.
said, you know what,
Yeah.
now that I've had to wait and I'm gonna stay where I am, or I also had an application at Westfield Tech, or I also had an application at Franklin County Tech, and I accepted those, so
Hard to say.
it's hard to say.
Yeah, you don't happen to remember how many were left last year?
Last year was very short, we actually had to go pretty deep, and
Okay.
we didn't have as many applicants, for 9th grade. It was probably in the 290s total, total applicants was over 300, but that also included, applicants for 10th grade. So, we probably, I can't say specifically, but because we had less and we went deeper,
Yeah.
I think it was much smaller. I think the remaining wait list will be larger. And I expect that to be the norm.
Going forward?
Mhm.
Why?
We're anticipating that there'll be higher applications with the lottery. So a higher volume of applications.
You are? Why are you predicting that? Why do you think that'll happen?
Because students potentially who may have self-evaluated
Opted themselves
and
out?
never applied, because they evaluated maybe their grades and their other things and said, I'm gonna be so low, I'm not applying. We're anticipating that they're all just gonna apply.
Okay. Interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we, yeah.
All set?
Yes.
Okay, so up next is committees report, and, so what committees? Campus facilities, or, no, your committees, I'm sorry.
Too, but I usually do the recording. The policy subcommittee met on May 22nd to review the potential redundancy of the hardship policy with the sick leave bank policy, and to consider possible elimination of the hardship policy. You will receive a proposal regarding these adjustments next month. Tonight, we have ready for your consideration and vote a policy on graduation oversight authority. And the D-Building Strategic Planning Subcommittee met on May 21st, the day after the presentation of the MARS representatives to this board, the Massachusetts Association of Regional Schools, to discuss what should be in the RFP for a D-Building feasibility study. That was a recommendation that came from the board for an RFP. And we'll have a draft of that to present to you next month.
Great, thank you, Sue. Okay, moving on. Facilities report. Mr. Smith, you're up.
So I wrote you all out on.
Yeah, no, appreciate that, thank you.
You're welcome. So we're getting close to ready to start the sidewalk project. Take care of C building, east and west side of A building. Ordered the pavers today from Amherst Farmers. And I'll have a walkthrough with K&F before we get going, just for some changes we're gonna put in, how they go about doing it.
About the finishing operation,
Yeah.
like, okay, great.
And we're still working on the dust collection system for cabinet making upstairs and for carpentry downstairs. The design phase is kind of finished. They want to come out and do another walkthrough, and then we'll move on from there.
Question?
Yeah.
Potential, I know it's your best guess at this point, dollars for this project?
So I had one company, when I originally started this, he was like $250,000. I'm just hoping they were wrong. We gotta have to go through this process to see.
Yeah.
The problem is to bring it all up to code now that we touch it, it has to be up to code. And the system would have the system, so everything would have to go, all the ductwork, and then put in all the safeties, it has to be tied to the fire alarm system. There's a lot more to it than what we currently have, much more involved.
So there's no grandfathering of,
There is, right now, that's what we have, but as soon as
Yeah.
you go to fix it, then
well, you're not, say, fixing it at this point, you're full-scale replacement.
Right, yep. But
Including,
so the other thing we have to do is replace the mechanism outside, that's what needs to go. And that would trigger everything else. And since you're gonna own that building for 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
um,
yeah, there's no choice, we need to move.
Well, if you guys go fast, that's great, so.
We're working on trying to figure something out here.
Yep.
Thank you.
So
Okay.
our electrical contractor is basically finished installing the generator, the new distribution panel down there. I think Schmidt Electric pulled wire to the new forestry building. There's a few things we gotta finish up, we gotta have the startup of that generator by Kingsley. And a couple of questions about how the solar is gonna work with that generator and that system. But we're pretty much done with that, so.
So the generator is connected to the solar panels?
Well, the solar panels go through our grid,
Okay,
but on the old system, our generator over here,
Yeah.
when that fires off, it's a completely different set of conduit. It's two different energy systems. That one down there will energize the whole agricultural area, but it also has the solar. So there's a question, is that producing solar stop that from coming on?
Right.
So
okay,
I got, John Shepherd's supposed to get back.
okay.
I didn't see that in his plans, but it came up towards the end of it. And so,
Type of transfer control mechanism to isolate the systems, I'm guessing.
yeah, but how is it talking to the
Right.
inverter to shut it down? So, but we'll get that fixed, so. Ceiling tile in A building, we're gonna try to order, about 6 pallets of it for the summer, do what we did in B building, have everything done, go through, do all the ceiling tiles that have the devices in them that the contractor goes around.
It makes such a difference.
It does, yeah. And with the new lighting the kids put in. Yep.
Exactly, yeah. Transformative.
Are you doing the physical labor in-house with your crew?
No.
You're bringing it?
We'll demo, we'll take it all down, but we'll have, Rocky's Acoustics comes in and does it.
Ceiling tiles only for the
Right.
stays in place?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll either paint it or wash it, the grid. Got a couple of trees on the hospital property line that have gotta come down, been watching them slowly die and they're just a hazard waiting to happen. And got a couple of good quotes, I'm just trying to coordinate with the hospital how they wanna move their doctors around and have urgent care open, because the urgent care space is where they wanna put the crane, so. But hopefully we get that done sooner than later.
Speaking of that space, I feel like I should know this, but I don't. What is the building that's being built there, right by the gate to
We
the?
have a new storage barn for horticulture, since they're taking over the maintenance of the football field for the mowers and spreaders and all that, we store there.
And our students are building it, I've seen them
Garbage
working on
cans,
it.
yes. Yep.
So it's built on a slab of a previous existing storage.
I thought there was something there.
But if you walk in it now, it looks 3 times as big with that high ceiling.
So tall.
Yeah. The D building roof, we're out to advertise it right now. And we're really just gonna secure the perimeter so it doesn't blow off and try to get some of the existing rubber membrane replaced. Depends how far the money will take us.
And what is that going to cost?
That we got 85,000 from the city to do that.
So that's the dollars you're working with.
Not to exceed.
And you mentioned, so better secure the edges so the wind doesn't get under and lift it.
So we probably have, almost half of that roof is blown off in the last 8 years or so, because it gets under it and just tears it off, so. And every time there's a windstorm, I always think we're coming into something in the morning, so.
Waiting for the phone to ring.
Yep. So we had some concerns that us and
Oh,
complained
sorry,
about. Yep.
what about that storm we had?
I'm just gonna say the
Oh
other
my
day,
goodness,
it was,
what
the wind
day
was
was
so
that?
strong. Friday.
Friday?
Yep.
That was,
Everything was okay here?
Yep.
Wow, there were like a lot of trees down on the bike path, just
oh,
everywhere.
hail,
In our neighborhood, the hail.
I was trapped in Cooper's. It was so heavy.
There are worse places to be trapped.
Yeah.
Yeah, pavilions.
Okay,
Sorry. So we're gonna start a project to replace all the wall packs, the lighting on the buildings to bring us up to code, the city's ordinance. I got a couple of fixtures ordered. We're gonna install them, have the compliance officer come out and give us the okay, and then he's given us the okay for the kids to do the work next fall. I might have all the high ones done in the summer just to, because it'd be the price of the fixtures and the price of the lift, so a contractor will come in and do the high stuff fast, and then the students can do the rest. I just was thinking that recently, but I haven't really determined that yet, so.
What makes them out of compliance?
Well, it's a new ordinance that went in last February, a year ago February, and so the lighting is like color coded, right? So we have 4,000 Kelvin, and they're supposed to be 2,700.
Oh, so they're too bright? No.
Yeah,
Part of it,
yeah.
and timing.
So they're supposed to go off, and they're supposed to be on a motion sensor, and
Yeah.
as soon as someone goes by 5 minutes later, they have to go off.
Right.
So this
right.
campus has to be dark
Yeah,
at night.
yeah, I do know about that, yeah,
And-
to protect wildlife and the night sky and.
Yeah.
more of a downlight as opposed to it being.
Right, well, yeah. The wall packs kind of shoot out.
Yeah,
I get it,
okay.
it's not in compliance, I get
Yeah.
that, but technically, we're grandfathered in, if you want to argue it.
And if, it seems like it would be different from a big tall street light or like a light in a parking lot, if it's
Yeah.
on the wall.
Right.
Yeah.
If you go by Walmart, the back of Walmart, you see the soft glow on their lights, that's what it's gonna be.
Okay, thank you.
And we got money from the city to replace some of the doors on campus that we've been having trouble with. The back of the cafeteria, those doors, the frames have rusted and, squeezed the doors closer so the sun warps the doors and they just don't latch during the day. First thing in the morning, they latch and secure, about 11 o'clock, I guess, they don't latch anymore. And we'll do the 2 doors on B-bill at either end of auto body and automotive. Original doors, we'll swap all them out. And a couple of overhead doors in the shop areas, plumbing shop and the 2A connect. And that's it. Not on the list. There's at least one window set in D building that has to be taken out because the wood framing had literally rotted away, and it was not. I was told, I got a call saying it was loose, but the whole window, those 4 window sections wanted to fall out. So they got to be taken down, reframed, and put back in. But there may be another one on carpentry side, so we'll do that this summer.
So you'll be able to remove what's in place, redo the framing around it, put it back in?
Yeah, I'll have Lazat come in and take it out. We'll frame it for them, and then they'll reinstall.
Your job involves so many different types of work and responsibilities, and you don't have to answer this question if you're not comfortable answering it, but I'm wondering which aspect of your work do you most enjoy or do you find most rewarding?
I like the projects the most. And basically that's what we have, mostly projects for all the time going on.
Yeah.
And it's just the day-to-day stuff that comes out of, the emergencies that take you away from it.
Right. So you like managing a project, seeing it through from beginning to end,
Yep.
feeling that sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, sense of accomplishment.
And
There
there's a
you
lot
go.
of different kinds of projects, so you have a lot of variety and keep it interesting, so.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks,
Yep.
Mr. Smith. Ready to move on to finance report, and I need to excuse myself for a couple minutes.
The city's FY26 budget was scheduled for a vote on June 5th. Unfortunately, has been postponed until June 19th. And the reason why I'm highlighting this is because of the Chapter 70 increase for FY26, because we will have to bring that for a vote on where the funds will go for FY '26. June 4th was Anne Marie Barron's last day in the business office. She was the payroll and benefits coordinator. She, I know I spoke about it last month, but I just wanted to highlight she officially retired after nearly 30 years of service to the city. She was with us for about 2.5 years. So I'm happy to report a candidate was selected and she officially accepted the position yesterday. And her start date will be July 1. So in the meantime, I will be covering the position until July 1st. We had a resignation in the farm techs. So we have been accepting resumes and interviews will be this Thursday and Friday. I gave a little highlight of some of the areas of concern for FY '25, some of the budget lines that have exceeded the original allocations. I'll go through this obviously more extensively at the end of the fiscal year close. I can certainly go line by line or give you the opportunity to review it, whichever you prefer.
Line by line? Will walk us through it, or do you want to look at it?
I don't need her to walk
Okay.
line by line.
And
Give some
just
overall
this
general
one right
sure.
here you meant.
The summary is fine.
Yeah, that's what I thought. You
Make-
meant by
sure,
line.
you said line by
Yeah.
line.
No,
That
I
means
meant this
something
line
very
by line.
different to me. I said, cool.
Sure, the
We
audit,
spend a lot of time in very long budgets,
Yeah.
like Ms. Fairman.
I'm sorry, the audit line under the business office, that did include the year-end audit, the grant, the audit of the city for the grants, and the student activity audit, which unfortunately we did not budget enough. Substitute coverage, that did include several long-term subs, and we are over by 15,390 and when I did the report, we still have two weeks remaining. Athletic coach stipends, that line is over by $18,977. I'm waiting to hear back from our athletic director to work with him to find out what caused that overage.
That's a big, because that's a small number of people, and that's a big,
Yes.
wow,
Same with athletic contracted services.
okay.
That's over by 5,200.
So will we hear more about this with the
I
end
will
of the
report,
fiscal
yes.
year? Okay, thank you.
Electricity and utilities, that line currently as of May 15th was over 21,888. That includes the copay that for the energy efficiency project for the lighting. So that's $13,000. So that kind of highlights why that line is over. Again, I'll give more detail next month. Unemployment, we're over $2,609. I do not anticipate any further charges to that line for this fiscal year. Vacation and sick leave buyouts. At the time of building the budget, we did not have anybody scheduled to retire or leave. We did have three individuals, 2 resignations and 1 retirement, which have resulted in a deficit of $22,370. So at the end of the fiscal year, I will be working with some of the lines that we do have funds, so I'll be doing line transfers to close the end of the fiscal year. I'm very happy to report I submitted for the final $1.2 million for the Skills Capital grant today. Yes, and waiting for one, actually at the time of my report, we had 2 invoices that were pending for the horticulture. We now are waiting for 1 invoice, and that portion of the Skills Capital grant will be finished, and I'll be able to submit for reimbursement for that as well.
So all those big grants that this team wrote and submitted, they were funded and enabled all of this great work to happen here, all done.
Correct.
Oh,
The Skills Capital grant, to seek reimbursement, you're literally entering every invoice line by line in an Excel document and submitting it for reimbursement. So that is very time consuming.
yeah, the state doesn't mess around with their, reporting.
Tuition, since I submitted my report, we have received payments and payment amounts.
if you could go back to the update, the financial status update. So if I'm just doing some quick math on electricity, so it's about 22,000, which includes the 13,000, but that's offset by a 9,000, so, doesn't seem like it'll be that big of an increase.
Correct.
And so kind of in line, I was just sort of wondering if other districts have seen, we all know how much our bills, personal bills have, energy bills have increased, and just wondering.
Oh, we're seeing increases, well, and then we projected, an increase for next year higher, and everyone's questioning how, the amount that was proposed, but we are expecting an increase.
Yeah.
When we built the budget, we did not have that, the energy efficiency project in mind. That was when CAPA came in and we had this opportunity.
Right.
So I think had we not moved forward with that, I feel like.
You would have been okay with it, you'd be like, yeah.
I think we might be a little over, but
Okay.
probably not.
And then for the vacation and sick leave buyouts, nothing can be done about resignations. There's no notice given, but yes for the retirement, but we didn't know about the retirement.
Not at the time of the budget, no.
Okay. So is that just units D and H that,
It's a different job category.
okay. Thank you.
Just one thing I wanted to just point out, the city council's next meeting is the 18th, not the 19th.
Thank you.
Just for our notes.
They are hoping to not take as long this year as they did last year.
That I cannot,
I watched part of
project that.
I watched the meeting and that's what they claimed.
Did you say the beating or the meeting?
The meeting.
Oh, the meeting? Oh,
Come on, horse.
I'm sorry, I know, really,
And they said that there wouldn't be a charter objection. I know people can change their minds, and they do. But the intention was to not drag it out so as long as happened last year.
I hope so, because it really did,
Complicated.
it complicated things.
Yeah.
But, we'll see what happens.
Even here with the Chapter 70 funding, which is a small part of our budget, but it still has an impact. Yeah, has a big impact on your budget.
And you're saying the dates changed to the 18th?
18th.
Not
Yes. The 19th is a holiday.
Juneteenth.
Juneteenth?
Thank you.
Okay, all set? Thank you. Well, I guess Dr. Lincoln Hooker's up.
Okay.
Superintendent's report.
Good evening, everybody. I have a relatively short report this evening. Just some topics related to instructional leadership. I just want to again highlight the Student of the Month luncheon. I want to thank Mr. Clark for overseeing that particular initiative. It's a great opportunity to come together with students who have been selected by their teachers, whether in the academic side or the vocational side, and just to see that success and talk to the students and what they're enjoying about the classes and the shops. And it's really a chance to sort of hit the pause button in the daily grind and see that what this staff is doing is working and their success is beginning to talk to the students. And I think you witnessed some of that this evening, just listening to the students. I'm not going to rehash, but we all know we had senior week, so the senior banquet went well, and the senior awards, obviously a highlight, looking at the amount of awards and the amount of scholarship money that goes out to our seniors is noteworthy. And then again, graduation, I think this was one of the best ones I've seen, as Dr. Spencer Robinson said earlier. I think by far the biggest crowd that we had from family, friends, the community, which is great. I do want to take a moment though and sort of preview. Under new business, you have an agenda item talking about an assistant farm manager. And I just want to take the opportunity to very quickly advocate for this particular position. I've been saying this for a long time in my role, that the farm and the ag programs that we have, they are the flagship. The majority of the reason why we're here, that's why the school was founded. And I want to thank the board for supporting our vision in expanding the ag opportunities that we've had for the students. But as we continue to expand the opportunities for our students, then there's more of a weight on how do we manage such farm operations. And I want to thank the question that was posed to Mr. Smith. He Unfortunately for Mr. Smith, he basically is trying to complete 2 full-time jobs. Not only is he the facilities director, he's also the farm manager. And he's doing the best he can, but it's a tough job. And our vision is, I'm not asking for Mr. Smith to retire anytime soon, but when that happens, I think that is the time that we advocate to have a full-time farm manager and a full-time facilities director. Split that, those 2 roles. Until that happens, I am here tonight to advocate that we create an assistant farm manager position. Mr. Smith would still be the farm manager. But this position would provide some more oversight, would provide better communication, would provide more support as we continue to expand. You heard from Mr. Smith tonight. He's all about the projects. We have a lot of projects going on. And when he alluded to sort of those day-to-day emergencies, a lot of those day-to-day emergencies are happening down on the farm. And it's difficult for Mr. Smith to respond to those needs on the farm, and something falls through the crack, and we can't allow that to happen. So this assistant farm manager would really kind of fill that void and help him, and help our farm staff, and help our animal science instructors, help our ag mech instructors, help our horticulture instructors. However, at the end of the day, the farm manager is still the farm manager, so this position would still report to Mrs. Smith. And then the $1 million question, no pun intended, the FY26 budget that you approved would financially support this position. We're looking at the farm staff, how we've allotted those positions. We've been budgeting for 4. Right now we're currently looking to fill 3. We also have a stipend for a lead farm tech. We would eliminate that stipend and roll that into the salary position. So my point is, by adding this particular position, there'd be no ill effect on the budget when it comes to the teaching and learning of our students here on campus, which I think is a great thing. Questions about it? I think the proposed job description, I think, was shared with all of you. I know you have the agenda item later, but I just want to take the opportunity to share some of the context. Okay. When the day comes, when I stand in front of you to advocate that we split the facilities director and the farm manager role, when that day happens, I would be advocating that the assistant farm manager role goes away.
Would you say when that day comes, you have been advocating this for a while?
Yes, it's needed, and I think
Yeah,
Mr. Smith would say the same thing.
Yes, agreed.
Those are very different kinds, it's like
Different
managing
skill sets.
a school,
Yes.
campus and a farm, 2 hats. It'd be good to have somebody who could be primarily responsible for the farm, so that Mr. Smith could really focus on the campus, and then as needed for the farm.
So under management and operations, it's already been spoken about the day after your last meeting. We had the strategic planning subcommittee meeting, and then also already spoken about the previous policy subcommittee meeting. I look forward to that continued discussion. I will take the opportunity, since we're talking about policy subcommittee, all of you do know that the Board of Ed did approve a statewide lottery for vocational admissions. We've been talking about that for the last several years. So we have our work cut out really between now and the fall, early fall. The board's going to have to update and approve a new admissions policy that looks at the lottery. How would we implement the lottery, which will have to happen for next year's applicant pool. I'm going to take the opportunity now just to share a few thoughts about it, to plant the seeds, since we're heading into the summer and time is of the essence. My recommendation, I think I alluded to it last month, is that we sort of look at ourselves. We are an independent vocational school, okay? We obviously have 80% of our students are non-resident. We've had the practice that the first 30 slots under the current admissions go to Northampton. I would recommend that we continue that model, almost shape ourselves around a more traditional regional voc tech. I think our colleagues in the traditional regional voc techs, what they may be looking at will be individual lotteries for each of their member districts. So if they have a regional agreement of 8 communities, they might be doing 8 lotteries, a lottery per town. And what I would be advocating for is that we follow suit. That in essence, we have 2 lotteries. We would have an initial lottery for the Northampton applicants, and we would be looking for 30 slots from Northampton. We would then have a lottery for the non-resident students to try to fill the 120. And as mentioned under Mr. Bianca's report, what happens with that wait list, okay? So right now, again, we have to continue to investigate this, but hypothetically, the Northampton lottery, okay, we sort of prioritize based on the lottery. We offer admissions to the first 30 based on the lottery. We all know that most likely the first 30 may not all say yes. So in order for us to fill that 30 seats, we just keep going back to that Northampton list, okay? And it would be doing the same thing with the non-resident group. I think that would benefit both districts. I think in Northampton, they would know, they could budget, we're gonna have 30 kids most likely. It would allow us to better manage our budget as well. So more to come, but I think right now, that's sort of what we're looking at. Another thing that if we read the regs, it has to be a public meeting. Right now, talking internally, we're proposing perhaps a board meeting in the springtime would be lottery day. So it may be a fun board meeting that particular evening. So a lot of details to work out. I do look forward to working with the board, but we need to get moving on this.
It has, sorry to interrupt, it has to be a public meeting like the school choice lottery does, because that happens in the registrar's office. It's.
Right, it's very
I mean, it could,
different,
it could happen in,
We have to post it as a public meeting.
right, it could happen in someone's office.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you thinking of an electronic platform?
Yes.
Thank goodness,
Yes.
okay. Okay.
Unless you have one of those bigger ball.
No,
Okay.
Depends how much hoopla you want.
Yes.
but that's good, that's done.
Yes. And right now, I want to thank Mr. Bianca and Mr. Shear, our IT director. He's been reaching out to our student information system, and they actually have, we believe, the capability to do a lottery through that particular system. So trying to work through that, see what those logistics are, because part of the regulations, we have to publish how do we manage that lottery, so that way families understand how it works.
Yeah.
So. Okay. So, moving on, okay, continue with management for the horticulture building update. Unfortunately, I could not attend this week's meeting, I had a training. But the most current update I want to share with the board is that on May 29th, a group from SMMA, Schoolhouse, myself, met with the city to look at the tree planting requirements. And we are expected to replant upwards of 75 inches in diameter of trees for this particular project. And that's because it's a ratio depending on how many trees we took down for the particular project. So some details that came out of that particular meeting is that the 75 inches that have to be replanted does not necessarily have to be replanted within the construction site. And I raised that as a concern. If someday we want to have solar panels on top of that roof, we're planting 75 inches worth of trees now. 20 years from now, those 75 inches is now 150 inches. We've now created a forest, and there's no solar capabilities down in the building. The city clarified that, no, we can replant these trees anywhere on our property. So that's anywhere here on our main campus. It could actually be up at the VA lot. However, it has to be within public view. So we cannot plant these trees up in the forest. They have to be sort of along the road so the public can view these new trees being planted. We are trying to still work out timeline because we know that we're entering the summer. We cannot plant trees over the summer. It's outside the growing window. However, in order for us to get our occupancy permit, this has to be done. There seems to be maybe some agreement from the city that they may give us an extended time, perhaps I'm hoping throughout the school year, so then our students in horticulture can accomplish this particular project, do some plantings in the fall, some plantings in the spring. So we're still working on that detail. We did meet internally with the horticulture instructors, with the admin team on September 2nd, reviewing these details, reviewing sort of the charge that we need to figure out. I want to thank Mr. Nevin and Mr. Onspach. I gave them a deadline before they leave for the summer, so this Friday, I need to have a plan so I can get that plan back to the city. Right now, we're looking at sort of 3 different projects here on the main campus. Obviously, some plantings down within the construction site. We're also looking at sort of the corner of the campus in front of D building Pasture Route 9, sort of that corner. They're looking at creating a nice little, I'm not sure how you describe it, but a little feature.
Zhuzh up the corner.
Okay, and then the third feature would be on the back, the backside of the storage barns, there may be an opportunity to plant some ornamentals and, some nice trees to kind of, again, beautify the backside of the shed, so. We believe that, through those three areas, we can accomplish, hopefully, the 75 inches. If we don't, or we choose not to replant 75 inches worth of trees, the city does allow us to pay the city. It's $100 per inch. It goes into the tree planting fund, and they use that to plant trees elsewhere. So we're still working out that detail. Beyond that, the contingency balance, I don't think it's as high as 96,000, but you know it's hovering around that range. And I want to remind the board, Ms. Fairmont will remind me, that you know that money isn't necessarily money that's sitting on the table. Okay, this money at this point, after the grants and whatnot, is currently sitting in the tuition revolving account. Because again, we had this vision that we were going to use upwards of 600,000 out of the tuition revolving account from the get-go. So this contingency money is in the tuition revolving account. It's not money that we have to spend. But as a board, we have to begin to decide if you want to spend that money. You may want to decide just to keep it in tuition revolving, or there's other projects. The existing building, like we've talked about, that may want to be demoed. There may be other projects. So I just want to keep that at forefront. Family and community engagement. I had the opportunity, I was invited last week to go up to Greenfield Community College and attend the Franklin County Police Academy ceremony. It was their 1-year anniversary. They just started last year. And I was in awe. The amount of law enforcement from all different levels, local, state, corrections, they're all there. It was a very emotional ceremony, to be honest. There were, I want to say, about 16 students from all over, I'd say Franklin County, but also Hampshire County, and from all different high schools. Smith was represented. We had Franklin Tech, we had Pioneer Valley, Turners Falls, Mohawk, on and on. So several schools had students participating in this police academy. I want to congratulate our criminal justice program because they are doing something right. So because this was the first year of the police academy, there was no opportunities for the police cadets to move into any type of leadership role this year. They had to go through almost like, if you think of like an academy type of model, they're learning, they're students, and then now as they're beginning to transition into the second year, they had an interview process where the police officers on the steering committee, they've selected 2 sergeants, students who will become leaders for next year. Those 2 sergeants are both Smith students, so immediately moving into a leadership role. And then lastly, the award of the night was the Cadet of the Year. And the Cadet of the Year happens to be your student rep on the board. So the 3 big awards given that night all came from the Smith students. So it was great. So a special night. The following night, I was with Dr. Spencer Robinson in Holyoke. I feel bad for the Secretary of Ed who was there. I think he has a tall task in trying to lead this council. And I do respect all the stakeholders. There's a lot of opinions and a lot of input that is going into this. You know, what should a graduation, what should a diploma look like, and what should it stand for in the state of Massachusetts? And I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of this particular council and what eventually is approved. So it was an interesting evening. I'll leave it at that. And then,
excuse me, is that the thing where Andy was the only superintendent represented and you were only school committee member represented?
Yeah, it wasn't.
There were other tours, there were other listening tours, so.
But this was the only one in Western Mass.
No, but they also had a virtual one.
Right, and the turnout was not great and they were criticized for, by the speakers for the lack of outreach to people in this area about the listening session. It was mostly Holyoke Public School educators who were there.
Good timing too, I mean, it's the end of the school year, so.
I mean, I don't think DESE is famous for their excellent outreach. That has been my own professional experience, that they're very neat. If you know, then you know, but if you're not in the know, then
you don't.
the survey, the survey's getting out there, but then you
This was announced
Right, I think at the superintendent level, I think,
at
Yeah.
the superintendent level.
We're right, but if you're a community member or a
Oh, yeah,
parent
that's the-
or a student, you're not plugged into what DESI has on its calendar. And there was a lot of criticism for there not being, I think there were 2 students there. They wanted many more students involved. Very Holyoke. The word got out, I think, there, because maybe it was at Holyoke High School and not too many folks from other places. And I was surprised at the virtual listening session also, how few people were there, because I thought there would be a ton of people.
Because it's time of the year,
Easy to get to.
it's just not an appropriate time of the year to try to reach out. You're competing with many year-end events.
Yeah.
And
It's such
I
a
don't think that they realize, they have to realize that, we're at the end of the school year.
Right, and their timeline is very, very tight. Like the whole thing from beginning to end is about 18 months. Secretary Tutwiler was outstanding,
yes, he facilitated a potentially difficult meeting, he did a great job.
very present, taking it all in, I was disappointed that there weren't any members of the council there. The council has a lot of people on it. No one was there from the council, including the folks from Western Mass. I was surprised by that, but again, to your point, and not all educators, right, but people are busy, and I was wondering how people would make time for these listening sessions, and then on the council, I'm like, oh, Secretary Tutwiler is going to get it, and they had note takers there as well. But yeah, it's just, it didn't feel as inclusive as I would.
And then just as a reminder, I shared the same bullet last month, we are right now penciling in Friday, August 22nd as a ribbon cutting ceremony for the new horticulture building. It's gonna be a very busy day here, that's also the new student orientation. So still trying to work out the timing to make sure that administrators were available for the new student orientation program in the gym that morning. So it's we work out those details, I'll make sure that the board obviously is well aware. We have to work on that invite list and get those out. But Fridays are typically the best for our legislators, which is why we picked a Friday. We also wanted to make sure that the project was done. So as late as possible in August, but we also didn't want to wait too late and then have the students begin to use the building and then try to do a ribbon cutting ceremony after the fact. So we felt that this particular Friday may be the best date. So, okay.
It'd be exciting.
Yes, busy time. So I mentioned how I could not attend this morning's horticulture meeting is because it started with the preventing and addressing discrimination and harassment in the workplace. This was mandatory training for all city department heads today. I unfortunately got called out, so I missed the second half. But I would say overall, the training was nothing that we haven't learned before. And I don't want to minimize the training. I would say as school officials, really dealing with discrimination and harassment is really in the job description. Unfortunately, this is one of those front burner things that we deal with within a school. I would say other city department heads, they may deal with this less often, so I think the training was beneficial is my point. So anyways.
Is that yearly or every couple?
This is the first time that they've done it since I've been here. But they're gonna do it again in August or so on, because I told them, my principals we can't attend.
Talk about timing of the year.
I know, it's like, I don't understand, people don't really understand the flow of the end of the school year and what's required.
You know what, I think lastly, a couple more slides. The donations, we received a very large donation last week. This was from Michael Bertoni, who donated 700 large Tyvek suits, 1,000 extra large Tyvek suits, 3,360 N95 dust masks to collision repair. These will be used by the students as they're doing sanding projects and painting projects. This was a lot. We had the opportunity to get more, but this is all we could physically transport back and then store. Okay, so I want to thank Mr. Richards, the department head. Also, he spearheaded all of this. He drove down there. He picked everything up. So thank you to both Mr. Richards and to Mr. Fatoni for making this happen. Looking ahead, the end of the school year, so the MIA, the meeting later this week. We have the last day of school on Friday. We mentioned Juneteenth, that's next week. The campus will be closed with the holiday. Many of us will be for 2 days down at Assabet Regional in Marlborough for the annual Connecting for Success Conference. And then moving into July, just as a reminder, the 4th of July, I think is on a Friday this year, campus will be closed. And then before you know it, we're recommending, I think also in your agenda you have the meeting schedule. Right now we're recommending a later July meeting, proposed for July 29th. The idea is if we push it later, then there is a greater likelihood that we may not need to have an August meeting. So that's the purpose for that.
Where is it in their package?
I think somewhere in the package there might be the school calendar.
Individual.
It should be in the back. They put it in the order of what it's.
Yeah, okay, got it. Thank you.
There's no questions, I turn it back to the vice chair.
And, Vice Chair?
I have just a thought, that we're not having a retreat this summer, and so maybe we do want an office meeting, and then also with the ribbon cutting, just things to, and the vocational admissions policy, so.
Great.
Something to consider.
Okay.
We may have, deep building stuff,
Right,
yeah.
We want to address.
And so we're at with the RFPs being put together?
Next month, we're gonna make a.
Right,
proposal
but
for-
Crystal's working on that? Is
No.
that where it was
No,
left?
we are.
Okay. All right.
The
So then we-
16th is a tentative primary day, that will not affect you all.
Thank you.
It might, yes. Well, it could.
What did you say?
So the September 16th, I believe, is potential primary day, runoff for the mayoral race. So I
That may
don't
impact
know,
the school day, the board, we can still meet.
okay,
That'd be up to the board.
that's why I just wanted to make sure.
Fine with me.
Yeah, we have to change our calendar, so.
Okay. We ready to move forward?
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Lincoln. Right in front of me. All right, so now on to item 10, new business. Vote to approve EF Tours trip to Ireland, April 2027.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
we want to have a
No,
discussion.
sorry, thank you.
Give Dr. Lincoln Hooker a chance to make the pitch.
And I want to thank the presentation earlier this evening. I think that's the best pitch possible. And I think the experience that we had this past April going to Italy, I think was, again, this was a wonderful experience. I would say, honestly, I was reluctant when we first started talking about the Italian trip. I wasn't quite sure how this was going to be pulled off. I wasn't sure if we'd have enough student interest, and I was proven wrong on all counts. I think this was wonderful. So I fully support this.
Quick question, because you're planning so far out in advance, what about juniors or, well, the seniors are gone, not even thinking of this place, but what about juniors who will then be, matriculating? So is it open to your graduates? Let's just put it that way.
No.
So no, so this is totally limited to
Current students at that
current
point.
school, okay.
Yeah, a lot of schools that are our size are only doing it every 2 years.
Which makes sense,
Yeah.
because you have to replenish the funds to be able to go. Okay. And then also the calculation of the cost, I know that there was some question last year where they didn't consider the transportation to the airport. Will they consider that this year in their costs?
I don't believe it's in the cost that EF Tours, they're aware of it, so it'll be, what they did this year is that was built into the fundraising. So the
Okay.
fundraising intention was there was individual fundraising to help you plan and pay for your own trip, and then there was fundraising that helped pay for those additional costs.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Say any opposed? I say any opposed.
Okay, I thank you for the prompt, but by saying, okay,
There are only 3 of us,
yes.
so.
Yeah,
heard our
but I
voices.
understand it's protocol.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any opposed? No dissension amongst the ranks?
Motion
Okay.
passes.
Motion passes. Vote to approve the 2025-2026 student handbook updates.
So moved.
Second.
So I would, for discussion, I would just like
Is
to
there discussion? Any?
introduce, probably under one of his final official obligations as an assistant principal, he will be moving in as the athletic director and co-op coordinator, effective July 1, but Mr. Sabonis is here to present the updates for the student handbook.
Good evening, everyone. So, thank you, Dr. Lincoln Hooker. In your packets, you were provided with the updates. There's a sheet of paper in there that has 9 updates. Some of them are run-of-the-mill, year-to-year things that are updated on a regular basis. Others are recommendations put before our school council, led by Principal Bianca and the other people that sit on that particular board to review and put through. So I can go through them line by line, or I can ask you guys simply if there are any questions about specific items, and I would be happy to answer any of those questions.
I don't want you to go through line by line, but maybe you could just walk us through kind of with a high-level overview?
Sure, so items 1, 2 are just general updates. There's self-explanatory. Item 3 is an update on procedures. We didn't have any of those this year. 4 is a general update of the calendar, simple. 5 and 6 are added together. Basically, it's the listing of our courses by school year, and then the new courses that were added with an explanation. Those explanations are taken directly from our program of studies, and certainly Mr. Parks puts a lot of thought and effort into putting those together and leading teachers through those proposals and so on and so forth. So they're there.
So the new courses are proposals, those are recommended by teachers.
Correct.
And so there's a teacher, so that's why Ancient Civ is being added.
Correct.
Because of teacher interest, not because of any framework or request from the state or testing.
Yeah, it's all teacher interest. It's based on.
I wouldn't say it's just teacher.
Yeah, there's
student interest and
Students.
it's discussed and, yeah.
Plus, it's applicable to the fact that they're now starting to travel. They can learn a little bit about the places where they're going in ancient times, and look at what modern day is. So.
But there's a process that we have built with a timeline of when those course decisions come in, when they want to propose a course and how that goes and what they have to do, and then the curriculum and the cost and all that other stuff that gets reviewed by the team to decide whether or not we can support that course.
What, does one course is one course now not being taught? Or are there courses
No,
not
I
being
think
taught?
Mr. Sabonis
These are
can
added
talk
to
to you
it.
about the asterisks that'll kind of explain that.
Yeah, so the history department came up with a token, or they tabbed as a waterfall schedule, and what that means essentially is that juniors and seniors will be offered a rotating menu of history courses, and they'll have the opportunity to take those courses either their 11th grade year or 12th grade year, but we won't offer them both. The idea behind that is that students will have an opportunity to take more courses, and they'll have to make their decision over the 1 or 2 year period versus being, teaching psychology every junior and senior year. It allows us to offer more.
Yeah.
We need help with our junior and senior schedule and electives offered to students.
Thank you.
Quick question, what does CMG stand for?
CMG is Contemporary Modern Governance.
All right. Question.
Yeah.
You, at the beginning of your presentation, you rattled off some numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm confused. Where are we?
Yeah, so Mr. Quadro, I was just discussing, and I think Dr. Spencer Robinson was asking questions about
Oh,
item number
I
5 and
got-
item number 6.
I'm missing part of the package.
That's all right.
Different.
Yeah, you guys have lots to look through, I'm sure.
I got a lot of stuff here.
Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
hold on.
For sure.
Okay, I had the wrong.
Yeah, no worries at all.
Thank
No
you.
worries at all. No. And then item 7 is an update on counselor assignments and the graduation requirements to reflect the updated board trustee policy from May of 2025 that you guys recently updated. Item 8 is a global replacement of the Title IX procedures, and essentially just to remind everybody, the Trump administration in 2016 developed a new set of Title IX response under the Biden administration starting in 2020. That went away and was edited and updated. And now that the Trump administration has come back into office, they're just reinstating those procedures from the previous regime. So that's all that is. And then finally, the last one is an updated map of our our campus buildings. It's just a nice filler for the back of our student handbook. It provides an opportunity for kids to kind of know where things are at a very basic level. So if there's anything else, I'd be more than happy to answer questions.
You all endorse the changes, the updates.
Well, thank you guys very much. I appreciate the time.
We like the map especially.
You can thank Mr. Bianca for that. I do not take full credit for that map.
I tore it out of my
So
package.
they can have it. So.
Any further discussion in regards to approve the 2025-2026 student handbook updates? No further discussion? We'll call for a vote. All in favor? Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
Any dissension? No dissension? Motion passes. Okay, now I'll get the right document this time.
We do have quite a few documents. This one.
School improvement plan. Okay, vote to accept the school improvement plan updates.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
I'd like to welcome Mr. Bianca to either walk us through or answer any questions. And again, this is state regulation around a school improvement plan. It's mandatory at the high school level. The high school principal oversees the school council who reviews and updates and proposes new school improvement plan. So without further ado, Mr. Bianca.
All right, thank you, Dr. Lincoln Hoker. So as Dr. Lincoln Hoker said, this comes out of development of the school council. School council's membership includes teachers, administrators, community partners, students, parents. So what ends up happening is we tend to look at data and we look at past goals that have already been put on the table. So if you look at the first 2 pages of that school improvement plan, you can see what has been accomplished through that 2015-2021 time period. The current one that we're closing out is the 2022-25. We'll be entering a new cycle where we'll be looking at data and running surveys, finding suggestions, looking at areas around the school that we want to make improvements in. And as we go through this, you'll see that the school improvement plan follows specific categories. So there's goals within those categories. Some of the data analysis that in the past we've looked at, which may no longer be relevant, we may still look at it, but we may not have it at the same level of validity. I think that's is the MCAS data. I think it's gonna be understanding to what extent that those tests were taken with fidelity. I guess is a good way of putting it. So we'll be able to know whether or not how much we wanna put into the data that we receive back from those tests. I will say that, and I think you asked this question when Mr. Parks was here at a different meeting. I will say the students are taking the exam seemingly at the same seriousness that they were. We do see an increase of students who were done in 15 minutes, 10 minutes, and that was it. So I doubt that they took it to that level of seriousness, but there are many, the majority of the students took it with what appears to be good effort. So you can see that the last data that we have is the data of the categories of where we are in mathematics, English, science, which is broken up. We do biology and physics here at Smith. Next is our accountability percentile. You can see we haven't changed all that much over the years. So we've always really been flatlined. Again, when I explained in the past how the accountability percentage is determined, we get to areas where suddenly we go up and other areas where we get 0 points. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that they're comparing you to previous years and previous goals. So if you did great last year in that category, odds are you're not going to get any points in it this year. It's just the way the system is built. Postgraduate plans, you can see that's the percentage with the information that we get is from students. That's how they report. We do an exit survey, and that's what they're reporting as their plans. And then we do a different survey for Perkins where we track students 1 year, 2 years out, and a lot of that is done at the department head level of the vocational programming. So they're reaching out to those students as part of that exit survey or getting contact information for the students. And as you go through and you can see we'll hit the categories of goals. The first was curriculum and instruction. We had started a goal years back where we did the 9th and 10th grade crosswalk. We finished the 11th and 12th grade crosswalk this year. So that goal has been completed. We will have to move into a period of updating. As you see, we just added some courses and other things. So nothing's ever really completed. But that goal as written has been completed through this cycle. Investigating OSHA as a hybrid, the school council removed that goal for now. So that goal was removed. I think part of it was just the amount of effort or time and resources to be able to take what we're currently doing on computer, figure out how to replicate that, and then add in a more hybrid. A lot of the programs are doing what I would call a hybrid, where the teachers are teaching sections and then releasing the students, or they're working in one-on-one or one-on-two, one-on-three small groups to try to increase the efficacy of the OSHA training. The other thing is not all a trend that we began to do is we began releasing. When we first got here, I believe it was every department but one was doing OSHA 10. But what the departments began saying to us as administration was, OSHA 10 is not really applicable to my area, or my area has its own safety training that may not fit under the general OSHA 10. So what we have been doing over the years is releasing some of those programs to be able to do it, or we've been allowing them to do specialized. So carpentry, cabinet making, or others might be doing the construction OSHA 10. Other ag might be doing the ag OSHA 10. So there's been some differences in that. So creating a hybrid when this goal was first introduced might have made sense, but I think now when we have several different people doing different trainings, it doesn't make the same level of sense. Does it mean that there shouldn't be a hybrid goal for the training in general? No, but the goal as written, we just don't feel is applicable anymore, and with the intent as when it was developed. Investigating and development of an entrepreneurship series, that's been on the table, and we're currently doing it. It's also in our school climate goal, or it's very similar. We have a leadership candidate. What leadership is MAVA, so the Massachusetts Association of Vocational Administrators, runs a Leadership 1, Leadership 2 academies. And Leadership 1 usually have not usually, but they do have a leadership project that they have to do. So this year's leadership candidate is Miss Evangelista, who was here earlier. She's going through that leadership, what she wanted to do was to try to take that on and started us off by creating a sort of seminar or panel presentation. So she's working through that with the hopes that we're gonna have that designed and the first running of it in the fall of this year.
For in relationship to the entrepreneurship seminar?
Yes,
Okay.
so what we're looking to do is have someone from Human Resources be able to be here, have post-grads that did co-op, perhaps run their own business or in the workforce now, and be able to talk about what does it look like postgraduate, what are HRs looking for, what does it mean when I own my own business, and be able to talk to those students,
Gotcha.
and answer questions.
Ms. Evangelista is taking that on as part of the Model Leadership One project.
Correct. That is her project, Leadership One project.
Yeah, that's cool.
When we go to the next category, any questions on that category? Next category is assessment. So you can see this is always based on the MCAS data up until this point. So you can see that in some areas in most areas we partially met them. So in ELA and in our sciences, we partially met the goals. In mathematics, we did not meet the goal. And again, that's referring to the MCAS data that was on the previous pages. Consistent grading policies and practices, we've sent that back to departments for input. One of the things that was a part of earlier grading practice was around professionalism. And we did have department heads form a small committee who they proposed changes to professionalism grades, and professionalism rubric, and that was instituted this year. So that came right out of the department heads with a little bit of adjustments at myself and Mr. Simonis' level, but not much. And Mr. Parks had input on that too.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Related to that? The idea of having, having grades mean the same thing across the board, in academics and in shop, is a really big challenge, I think. Grading is so, there's a subjectivity is, part of educator grading, right? But it's to the detriment, the inconsistency, not having grades mean the same thing from class to class or grade to grade or shop to shop or department to department. There's a detriment to that, because then what are the grades anyway? I'm just thinking aloud, I don't have a proposal, but I guess I would be interested in trying to undertake, I think most especially for the benefit of the educators here, is what does an A mean, or what does a 90 or 95 or whatever? The grades are numerically based here, right? So what does that mean to get a 90 or 95, an 87 or whatever, and to have that consensus across the faculty? I think I'd be really interested in trying to pursue that, but also recognizing that's a big challenge.
Yeah, so, that's fair, it's good points. Within departments, the grading is calibrated. Yeah, so just to give you some examples, our departments are great. To give you some examples, mathematics does primarily all universal exams and assessments. So they're calibrating what does the different grades look like, and they have that, and their rubrics all develop that. Social studies has universal rubrics. Although one teacher might have created the course, those materials are open source now to all the other teachers who use it. So one teacher might be using all the PowerPoints and things that are built by another teacher.
Yeah.
They have a consistent grading process and rubrics, and they've calibrated when it comes to analyzing primary source documents and secondary source documents. So when you look at those kinds of things, there's a lot of calibration across that. I think when you're talking about the shops, on one hand, every year we're sending out our competency progress reports. Competency progress reports are calibrated because it's a state rubric. So we know what anything from 0 to 1 looks like, 1 to 2 looks like, 2 to 3 looks like, 3 to 4 looks like. So when you look at grading practices in that sense, the competencies, even though the grading might look a little bit different, or the expectations of the style of work might look different, when we get to that rubric around progress reports and competencies, it's universal. What a lot of this was looking at is once a student's absent. That was more the intent of this. When a student is absent, what's the expectations for a student? When a student is absent, how many days do they have? Right now, the policy says that they have a 1-for-1. The problem is some people are looking at that as a 1-for-1 day, including shop, or a 1-for-1 day next time they come. So I could be absent on Tuesday in my academic, or Friday in my academic week. I don't have to bring anything back till Tuesday of my next academic week, so I have a week and a half to do that work.
Right.
Whereas I could have been absent on Tuesday, and I only have till Thursday. There's other people that say, no, if you're absent on Friday, you have 1 day, which is the Monday of your shop week, and I expect you to hand it into academics on Tuesday. So part of what we really have to do is get a clear sense from staff as to what that means, find out what does that mean as an impact on students, and then try to come up with something that we think is fair and equitable, that makes sense as to when they're handing stuff in. It's a little different because of the week on, week off, that it has a level of complexity.
Yeah.
But the intent of that wasn't to say, what is it necessarily, what is it, a 95 to 99 or 95 to 100 looks like in all programs across.
Just for the attendance, right?
Because I think you make a fair point, that's a heavy lift.
It got me thinking about that.
Yeah, that's a really heavy lift.
Yeah, I have a something for you to consider. Thank you for the explanation, thank you for the clarification, and then also hearing more about the rubric, the common rubrics that are used is great. But something to consider when I only read about the PD that you offer, that you provide here at the school, but it looks really good. So much of it is in-house, and so much of it seems really tailored to what educators need versus everybody's getting the same thing, and it might be the 5th time you've gotten it, or whatever. So, and I know that educators here can provide the PD. So something that I think would be neat would be to practice some blind scoring of assessments that are given in different departments. So to have that be an option to say, we all teach the same, course or subject or whatever, and let's take student names off of the work, and you grade the student work with this rubric, I'll grade it with the rubric, and let's see, to look for agreement, between between the educators. That also can be a really rich discussion among the educators.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting idea. So I know that they're already doing blind scoring in history and English.
Oh, cool.
And they're doing it to calibrate
Yeah.
each other,
Yeah.
so that they score better. What I hear you saying is potentially a PLC where people from a bunch of different departments are looking at sample work and coming up with scores.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'll talk to Mike about seeing if there's interest in that. Yeah, we do primarily a PLC model of professional development, so it's, the staff are usually getting together, they're looking at a common problem or identifying a problem, and then they're studying it and coming up with a solution, which, later on in the summer, I'll just give you an example. There was one group who looked at behavior intervention. They took kind of the student handbook and they created a flow chart of how so that they took the words, made it into what it looks like, and that's gonna get incorporated into the faculty manual. So that's one adjustment you'll see. That's an example of what came out of that.
Yeah. So organic, authentic, and holistic, that approach to PD.
I think this is an area when we're talking about school improvement that might have different goals in the future. Again, these were heavily MCAS based. To your point, maybe assessment goal is calibration cross grading. So that'll be definitely probably the section that will have the potential for the most change moving forward in the next improvement plan. So shop information handouts, all that has been incorporated into the NEAS documents and the common shop scope and sequences that are gonna be done. So that was done through surveys of parents, students, staff. We identified common interest topics, we incorporated them into that program scope and sequence template. So all that's been done. Again, the comprehensive program handbook, Mr. Sabonis referenced it earlier, that's completed. This is one we kind of we do tend to struggle with, that assembly series. So we had to drop grit and wit, the price was going up every year. Again, you hear Mr. Ansbacher, they're saying I want it all, but there is a cost, that was becoming close to $7,000. So that was dropped. We did add Team East BMX, that is a graduate who has his own business and company, and one of his side businesses was BMX, and what he has developed in Team East is a BMX series where they go to schools, they go to other events, and they talk about healthy decisions and good choices. While they're doing that, they're doing a lot of stunts on the bikes that really hold everybody's attention. There is a cost to that. It's generally like $3,000 to $5,000. Because his son goes here and he's an alum, that has been donated.
Oh, wow.
So there was no cost to that. And that was Matt Still, is the owner. Again, the guest speaker panel series, that is what we're looking at also with Miss Evangelista, so that would fall into here as well. And then identifying the common things around messaging. So we know we've completed the vision of the graduate. The committee has been presenting to staff. We've updated procedures on different things. So the VOG has been included in unit plans, lesson plans, and other areas, textbooks when they're being proposed. Ms. Wanzik is having that tied into IEP documents and goal setting. I've been working with graphics on some preliminary designs and information about taking that, all those words and breaking it down into small little pieces that become, that are displayed graphically, and then one overall infographic that eventually would get uploaded, approved at the board level, and then uploaded onto our webpage to represent the Smith Vocational VOG. So pending any other questions, that is the update for the current SIP.
Thank you, Mr. Bianca. Okay, so that's the school, and vote to accept the school improvement plan updates. We motioned, we've had discussion. Any further discussion? Kind of vote? Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any dissension? No dissension? So approved? Okay, moving on to the next item. Vote to approve new board policy on graduation program oversight authority.
So moved. Second. Do you want to take this or do you want me to?
Discussion.
I can start. So this came up,
Yeah, no, I have it here somewhere.
there was some discussion at the board level over the course of a couple months. And my recommendation as a superintendent was that there was more clear policy around who oversees graduation, the planning of graduation, the program, date and time. We also do understand that the date, there's some regulation that oversees when we can have a graduation. So what you see in front of you is a draft policy that gives the authority to plan for the graduation program, so on and so forth, to the principal, obviously as long as he or she is following all state regulations. So I applaud Dr. Spencer Robinson for helping out, drafting this draft policy. I think it's very clear that it does fall under the jurisdiction of the high school principal.
So it's a stated policy of the Smith Vocational Agricultural High School Board of Trustees that decision-making authority for the graduation ceremony rests with the SVAHS principal. This oversight includes the graduation program and the day, date, and time of graduation, subject to state regulations.
Okay,
Didn't need to be complicated, straightforward.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Any opposed? Motion passes, thank you. Vote to approve a new assistant farm manager position.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
So I shared, in your package, you have the proposed job description. I share high level advocating for it. Some back into the weeds, the recommendation that this position would not be represented in Unit H. This individual would be reporting directly to the facilities director who is in Unit H. So it would be a sort of not covered by of our bargaining group. I'm open to any questions if you have any.
Quickly glancing through this, seems very comprehensive.
Who drafted this?
Well, I think Ms. Behrman did a lot of the homework, consulting with Mr. Smith, once we had the draft.
Great, and so he's seen it and likes it.
Gave a lot of input.
Is this in line with, I mean, are there similar positions at, like at Norfolk Aggie or other agricultural schools?
So we reviewed those job descriptions. We also looked at the current job description for what we have currently with the lead farm tech.
Right.
We looked at that job
Because
description.
you're incorporating that in those
Correct.
responsibilities into this role.
And really the charge that I gave to Ms. Behrman and Mr. Smith was this position had to be elevated above and beyond the lead farm tech. Otherwise, there's no need to move away from a lead farm tech if it's the same position with a different title.
Right.
So we wanted to enhance that. However, we could not enhance it to the point where it becomes the farm manager role.
Yeah.
That's Mr. Smith. So that was the challenge, and I think, Ms. Behrman and Mr. Smith did a great job, striking that balance, so.
Does this person, will this person be supervised, it says assistant farm manager helps supervise student and staff workers. So who would the staff be, that to be supervised?
Ultimately, the evaluations would still go through Mr. Smith. This individual would be giving input on, would be more direct, I always go back to like the military, so you have chain of command.
Yeah.
But you also have sort of this chain of authority.
Yeah.
So he or she would not be writing the evaluations, but he or she would be directing staff to what to do, to assign tasks.
Right. So can you tell me which positions specifically this person would
Would be overseeing,
supervise? Yeah.
would be the farm techs,
And how many of those do we have?
3.
Okay.
But I want this individual to also not be overseeing the instructional staff, but there needs to be better communication. So
Right.
this individual should be partaking in some of the department meetings,
Right.
should have maybe a more consistent means of logging information, so whatever that Google Doc looks like,
Right. So that there can be symbiosis between
all the different
the
departments.
two.
Correct.
And we had 4 techs with 1 lead tech. This will be 3 techs and 1 assistant farm manager.
Yes. And the ideal is that this individual would not be working the weekends, would not be in that rotation. The 3 farm techs would be doing that rotation.
Okay.
This individual would be on campus Monday through Fridays, working with admin, working with the staff, but would be available for the weekend shift if needed.
And is that true for Mr. Smith also, that he works Monday through Friday, not on weekends?
Correct.
What do you anticipate will be the interest in this kind of position?
I don't know yet. I'm hopeful.
Because it's a new position for us, yeah.
Right.
And how does the pay compare to the farm techs?
So I did a salary survey with the existing vocational schools and actually included UMass. So
Smart, because it's right there.
correct, and we did. We actually did get the job description from there as well.
Oh, great.
So I unfortunately I did not bring it, but I did share it with Dr. McKinhover, the range of the salary scale.
And what will that be?
I'll get back to you on that one,
Okay.
honestly.
And then just also want to, I'll be curious how that will compare to the farm techs.
Yes.
So what, is that unreadiness for you to be able to vote this evening?
Say that again?
Is that unreadiness for you in order to be able to vote for this position?
I don't think so.
No, not for me. Okay. Any further discussion? We've discussed this enough. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? No opposition? Vote to approve a new assistant fire manager position has passed. And recorded. On to the next item. Discussion, possible action. Determine whether to allow virtual public access to Board of Trustees meetings, and if so, to what extent in format?
I would like to ask to table this discussion until the full board is together to have that conversation.
Do you wanna say more about that?
In terms of tabling, just hold off until the
Yeah,
next meeting.
but because you're thinking it impacts them as well.
I believe so. It
I,
should be a full board conversation.
I would agree with that. And if we were gonna discuss this, and if so, to what extent and format, that's gonna be, do we need some kind of roadmap on that part before we even,
Okay,
please do?
so I think timing is perfect. I think after, public comment the last few months, I think the Northampton Open Media, obviously working with Caitlin and getting the video uploaded and whatnot, has heard this conversation. Okay, so I believe that facilitated some conversation with Caitlin, reached out, and I'll invite Ms. Lucy to talk. Correct me when I'm wrong here. But in essence, they are, if we move in that direction, I think there'll be some training involved. I think we have some logistical questions as far as, they have some hardware that they would actually encourage us to have. Caitlin can explain that hardware better than I can. In essence, allow speakers to be sort of followed and be on camera. But the questions would be around, how do we operate Zoom, probably through my computer, allow the public access so we can see, but how do we go back and forth between, I call it the Brady Bunch windows, and then presentations if we're trying to share a screen. So, but my point is, just to sort of let the board know, there has been some sort of behind the scenes conversation, that if we move in this direction, Northampton Open Media is definitely on board to help us out. I think they'll be willing to give us the hardware, talk to us about some training. So those conversations have been occurring. Am I missing anything?
No, you covered it. I know for the Northampton Public Schools, maybe it's changed, but there used to be a person who is there operating a camera for the school committee meetings.
NOM does that
Yeah.
for us.
Right, and, but what I'm hearing Dr. Lincoln Hoger say is that we would get, it wouldn't be done by a human being. It would be, like the camera would track the speaker and something like that. Do
It
you-
looked to me almost like an internet router you'd have at your home. It was kind of a cylinder.
Yeah.
We had to have probably a separate table. And the combination of that and using Zoom, it'd all be recorded, there'd be no more camcorder, is my understanding.
Yeah. I haven't been to a city council meeting in person in quite a while. Is there a person, and I know you
They're
have,
not actually in that space, so it's done.
they're in a different space,
They're in a
but so do
different
we know
space.
if there's a person there like for the school committee?
There is a person
Okay.
there.
Yeah,
There's
so
a
it's not
person
done
there
like
for
what
city
we're talking
council.
about here,
So
right?
it will require someone to be able to initiate the technology.
But like we would be taking this on ourselves versus NOM taking it on for the city council and the Northampton School Committee
Oh,
meetings.
then I don't know, because
Yeah.
this is part of the conversation,
That's
but
what
that's why I was
yeah.
hoping that the full board can
Yeah.
hear what it's gonna be entail.
Yeah.
And, what the expectation will be. And
Right.
are you going to then require us to also be on Zoom?
Right,
And that means that we'll all need laptops to be able, or bring our laptops to be able to do that. So
Right.
there's some preparation work
for sure.
around it.
Yeah, and I'm hearing Dr. Lincoln Homer say that looking into it, it would be, if we wouldn't have a Northampton Open Media person here to help us, we would be doing it ourselves. And so that's gonna impact, I think, our decision for sure. And one of the things that if it were streamed, then people could watch it when it's happening. And that would be different from being on Zoom, right? Or having.
We do both.
Yeah, but I'm saying, I'm not saying anything, but I'm thinking that because we aren't gonna have the same kind of support from Northampton Open Media for this, it might limit our capabilities. So we might decide to say, we're gonna stream the meetings so people can watch them when they're happening. But we can't do the Zoom part. I don't know.
But I think that part of the premise was to provide access for those who are in
Yeah,
the
to
small,
comment.
in those communities to
Right.
be able to interact.
Right, to speak during public
So,
comment.
Yeah, you have to really think about
Yeah,
what you want.
right.
Yeah. But it,
Does the board,
go ahead.
and also put the table, does the board want Caitlin and I to reach out to Northampton Open Media? Maybe they are present at the next
That
meeting
is a
to
great idea.
either discuss the presentation and or answer questions.
That is a great idea, so we can see what the range of possibilities is, and without putting more, you know, a big burden on our staff. Yeah, that's a concern.
Do we have video productions?
Okay, so, this new business item shall be tabled for now. With further,
Till the next
Until
meeting.
the next meeting.
And also the, Dr. Lincoln-Hoger is gonna request that
Northampton Open Media be
attends.
here.
Yeah, so at your agenda setting meeting, you'll make sure that that's on the agenda
Yeah,
to have
and,
the
and
NOA.
do we go further with some, I guess it's too early in regards to what this is all gonna look like.
Because that person would tell us what the options are, and then we'd be able to decide collectively what makes the most sense.
Okay. So, ready, we can move on from this new business item? Okay, vote to approve the following surplus for scrap from PE/health treadmill.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, no discussion. Vote. So it's been moved, it's been second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? No opposition. Next item, vote to approve the 2025 Board of Trustees meeting schedule.
So moved.
Second.
Getting slow on the
So I'm
Sorry.
looking for it. I was-
Any opposition? There was
Any discussion, you mean?
portion, any discussion?
Dr. Bonner.
Dr. Bonner had a point earlier about one of the dates.
So I think the point of reference, and thank you for Dr. Bonner for pointing it out, would be the September 16th, that Tuesday. That's going to be a primary, local primary election day. I honestly don't see how that could impact this meeting. I think we can move on. I think that will be a discussion as far as having a school day that day.
And I see the March and April, which trip me up every time, maybe not in 2026, we'll see. They're very close to each other because we need to.
The idea, we try to wait as long as possible in
Yeah.
March. You know, there's maybe a miracle and we get a tuition rate, so we can present a budget, but then we have to turn around pretty quickly in April, so we can have a budget approved by you to submit to city. So yes, that's that quick turnaround. Typically, it is the third Tuesday, but then depending on school vacations and whatnot, it has to fluctuate a little bit.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? No opposition? Vote to approve is passed. Vote to ratify the July 1st, 2025, June 30th, 2028 Unit D contract.
So moved.
Seconded, sorry. So I don't have
The contract.
the contract.
I don't either.
So are we jumping the gun?
I don't believe so. I think in years past, we've had the MOA that was drafted, that's what I shared in executive session last month.
Right.
Nothing has changed from that. The only,
Go ahead, sorry.
no, so The reason why we didn't vote last month was just sort of the timing. We wanted to make sure that Unity was able to ratify in their end. They have since that meeting. So the ball is back in the board's court. The only discussion that is remaining, I think you meet with Municipal Met recently. I'm also talking to Council Brent earlier today, is the language around parental leave. And we just wanted to make sure we're all set there. But all of the other TAs that we discussed in the executive session, nothing has changed from that.
And which we saw, we did
Correct.
not see the full contract, but we saw
All the changes.
all the changes to the contract language.
Council, do you usually have council review?
She was present, she's the one who
Oh,
created
Okay,
that
so
document,
you guys
yes,
have
yes.
council presence, that's a whole different
No
deal.
disrespect or anything, so this, at this point, it's formality, everything's gone through, they've ratified, council's
So
reviewed.
the process, the negotiating team from Unity worked with the negotiating team from the board.
Yeah.
Both groups came to a TA tentative agreement. So then at that point, the TAs on Unity side, they had a meeting, discussion, they then did an official ratification vote. It passed within Unity. I shared that same document with an executive session, we had that discussion.
Right.
But we didn't vote that evening because I wanted to make sure Unity was all set.
Right.
So since that meeting, Unity is all set. So now it's a matter of voting for the board.
Okay. It's been, motion's been second,
Do we feel like the whole board should be here to vote to ratify? Or are we comfortable not having, with three, not five?
I would have been worried if the executive session was this evening. And since there's nothing that's changed since then, I'm comfortable. I do respect the concern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many of us were at the executive session?
we were
We're
all
all
here,
five of us.
I believe,
We were all
yeah, we were all here.
So we all five have seen it, and there haven't been any changes since then. We were only waiting on Unity ratification, which has happened, so I'm comfortable.
I'm good,
Okay.
so
How
I'll,
do you feel?
I'm okay, then, as long as you all are comfortable and, superintendent's shaking his head, so.
And even with the parental leave language potentially being adjusted, I'm comfortable with that. Just knowing the familiarity of our council with the language.
Okay.
I would definitely, trust her.
You said the biggest thing was that the council was present, so the council's reviewed.
Right.
And that's important. Would love to see that, parental leave language, soon.
I got it at the MASC conference last summer from Mark Terry, the attorney who presented there. Like, that summer conference is pretty good. And then our attorney had her own experience, knew that and had her own experience too, so it's good language.
Thank you.
It is exciting, that's my favorite part of the new contract.
Okay. That'd be helpful. Thanks.
no further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? No opposition?
You can say the Unity contract.
Yeah. Vote to ratify the Unity contract has been approved. On to the next item, future business. July 29th, 2025, regular Board of Trustees meeting, 5 p.m. here in the library.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
I saw the
No,
look.
you can't do that until I let you.
I know you said young lady.
Okay. All right, pre-meeting, one.